Chapter 297. It seemed that this was not the first time the market on the border had been attacked by the demonic ape. Many of the adventurers and merchant groups in the wooden houses did not panic at all. Instead, they were all beaming with joy, as if they were going to make a fortune again. Although the demonic ape was fierce, it was in the forest. It used the advantage of the towering ancient trees to come and go like the wind. Humans weren't its match at all. Moreover, it was hard to use arrows in the forest. However, the adventurers had cut down all the trees at the border of the land. It was hard for the demonic ape to show its advantage on flat land. Moreover, no matter how smart the demonic ape was, it couldn't be compared to humans. Moreover, the adventurers who could come to this dangerous region weren't fools. They were all experts. Some of them had mid-grade talent, and some even had top-grade talent. There might even be hidden geniuses among them. How could the demonic ape compare to these people? All sorts of traps, poisons, bows, crossbows, and even fire talisman spears were used to capture the demonic ape. The demonic ape was expensive, so it was bought by the Scenic Martial Trade Association. Of course, the Celestial Trade Association and the Celestial Trade Association bought it too. Actually, the demonic ape contained a thin bloodline of the gods, which was useful in refining it. Apart from that, the most important thing was the demonic ape's soul. If it was obtained by an expert who cultivated the primordial spirit, they could refine the soul to make talismans or fuse it into magic treasures to gain spirituality. For example, for a normal sword to gain spirituality, it had to be placed in a spirit-gathering formation for 1,000 years or soaked in spirit liquid for 100 years or dripped with heavenly dew. However, these weren't as fast as directly refining the soul. Of course, refining the soul into an artifact required one to cultivate the primordial spirit to leave the body. At the 14th transformation of the Tao realm, after the primordial spirit left the body, the mental energy in the sea of consciousness would turn into primordial spirit power. It could interfere with reality, and this power was unprecedented. Since ancient times, the primordial spirit leaving the body was a huge change. If Gu Chensha hadn't gotten the heavenly Tao God light to charge into his sea of consciousness and increase his mental energy, he would have needed another 3 to 5 years to cultivate the primordial spirit. However, refining the soul into magic treasures was a method of the demonic path. Righteous cultivators did it secretly, but they couldn't do it openly. However, Heavenly Craft Academy didn't have any misgivings, wantonly doing this kind of thing. In reality, there was nothing wrong with this. These demonic apes were evil spirits themselves, cruel and bloodthirsty. Capturing them and extracting their souls to refine into treasures wasn't a big deal. Gu Chensha came to the edge of his fief mainly to observe the movements of the barbarians, as well as the situation of the adventurers and merchant groups. He wanted to blend in with them and have a taste of what it was like to better comprehend the life-mending heaven technique. Moreover, he had a vague feeling that there might be a fortuitous encounter. Sure enough, he found a fossil of a vermilion bird egg. Of course, he didn't act rashly and only paid attention in secret. In any case, apart from him, no one else could refine this vermilion bird fossil egg. Of course, unless Wu Dankong also obtained this item and used his newly learned Son of Heaven's God-conferring art and Sun-Moon Dragonblood, he would be able to hatch it. He just had to keep an eye on the egg and not let Wu Dankong get it. If Wu Dankong really gets the decree, his cultivation speed will far exceed mine. When I got it, I was poor and had nothing at all. I wasn't even a warrior. When Wu Dankong got it, he was already at the 18th or 19th Tao realm transformation. With such a foundation, as long as he cultivated a little, he would be able to shock the world. If Gu Chensha had obtained the talisman at the 18th Tao transformation Golden Core realm, he would have been comparable to Wen Hong now. Gu Chensha's foundations were too shallow, while Wu Dankong himself was a top talent. In a saint family like the Wu family, he received the best nurturing and development. As such, he couldn't be compared to Gu Chunxia. Truthfully speaking, Gu Chencha's current talent was on the same level as Wu Dangkong. The devil ape's attack was instantly destroyed. They didn't even manage to cross the border. The people in the market continued to do business as usual, shouting and yelling. Large merchant groups began to capture the devil apes one by one, locking them in cages made of steel and transporting them away in carts. The market was along the long border, and it was filled with people. There were many adventurers, and it was bustling with activity. It even extended to other lands. Gu Chencha's land was Lu Baiyue's land, and they were connected to one another, which was Gu Huasha's. The three lands were connected to one another and could help one another. The army gathered at the border of Gu Chencha's land. Many adventurers and merchant groups from other lands all surged over. Along with war came wealth. Some were trying to fish in troubled waters, some were truly loyal to the country, and some had ulterior motives. When Gu Chunxia observed a person's appearance, he discovered many clues. He had been paying attention to the burly man and realized that he was still in his wooden hut. He didn't go out to capture the demon ape. Instead, a few people entered his wooden hut and seemed to be choosing something. In fact, they were making contact. Gu Chunxia sent his primordial spirit into the vermilion bird egg. Since it was closely connected to his body, he could hear everything clearly. "Hey Chuan, did the elementary scholar who just came in ask you if he wanted to buy this stone?" The few people were dressed like warriors and wielded sharp blades and crossbows. Their killing intent surged, and they seemed to be in cahoots with He Chuan. That's right. That elementary scholar was roped in by the Hongyun Games. I gave him 10 sets of horned dragon armor, and he immediately gave up. He Chuan said, "You just have to wait for someone to exchange 10 sets of horned dragon armor." A warrior said, "This is Master's order. Once this person appears, inform Master immediately. Also, keep an eye on the movements of the Hongyun Games, Scenic Objects Chamber of Commerce, Calming Immortal Department and Heavenly Designer Department. A storm is brewing here and a war is about to erupt. It is really dangerous." He Chuan said, "If I stay here for too long I might die. I need to report to the higher-ups and leave this place." "Okay, we will report to the higher-up." The few warriors cupped their fists and left. The guy waited for them to leave before standing up and looking around. He scoffed coldly. "Damn, didn't I just offend Venerable Li? He actually wants me to die here. Luckily, I have a trump card. What is this stone? Why did he want me to sell it here?" As expected, it is a scheme. A smile appeared on Gu Chencha's face. He didn't do anything and just waited to see what the person behind him did. The most important thing was to understand what kind of power this guy belonged to. This wasn't difficult for Gu Chunxia. As long as he cultivated to Tao Realm 12 transformation soul snatching, he would be able to forcefully enter one's mind and read one's memories. Moreover, Gu Chunxia made several deductions. Since this was a conspiracy, then the vermilion bird egg that the burly man was selling might not be the real vermilion bird egg. It might be a trap refined by some almighty being. Since he thought about this, Gu Chunxia wasn't in a rush. He was thinking about whether or not he could use a plan within a plan. He immediately informed Zhuge Ye. Zhuge Ye's methods were really exquisite and mysterious. With him coming up with a plan, it was definitely safe. "Young Master Chen, what are you thinking about?" The female cavalry Yao Lian waited and didn't attack. When she saw that the demon apes were captured, her eyes shone brightly. "I'm thinking that under the drive of profit and the general trend, people are willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of profit. If there's no such thing as profit and only righteousness, will there still be so many people coming to the border?" Gu Chunxia sighed. "Since ancient times, righteousness is not as good as profit? There are very few people who sacrifice their lives for righteousness, but there are many who sacrifice their lives for benefits. As for who is right and who is wrong, I don't know. Young Master Chen travels the world to increase your knowledge. You also care about the common people and discuss knowledge. You are a true scholar. The female knight Yao Lian repeatedly praised. A scholar like young Master Chen will definitely score high in the imperial examinations in the future. He will pass the imperial examinations and enter the imperial court as an official. Perhaps he will become the next Fong Lin. Fong Lin was the model of a scholar. He came from a poor family and was the top scorer in the exam. He was promoted by Heaven Talisman Emperor to be a minister. You praise me too much. Gu Chernsha cupped his fists. The world is undergoing unprecedented changes. Entering the court might not be a good thing. Maybe there will be more opportunities among the people. Just as the two were talking, a knight suddenly reported from outside. Young Master Lai Han of the Scenic Martial Chamber of Commerce has sent an invitation, asking the incense master to go and have a chat. He wants to discuss cooperation. Give me the invitation. The female cavalry Yao Lian said. The cavalry respectfully took the invitation. Yao Lian opened it and looked at it. A cold smile appeared on her face. This Scenic Martial Merchant Company has become arrogant recently, but they do have many good things. Since that is the case, I will go to the banquet. Does young Master Chen want to see it? I am willing to broaden my horizons. Gu Qinsha bowed. A small bazaar, but entangled with various forces and plots, had a different taste. Yao Lian took the invitation and led a group of cavalry to another bazaar dozens of li away. The rows of wooden houses in the bazaar were extremely tall. Many cavalry in horned dragon armor patrolled back and forth. The security was extremely tight. This was one of the bases of the Scenic Martial Merchant Company at the border. Along the long border, the Scenic Martial Merchant Company had hundreds of such bases. Hongyun Xiangzhu Yaolian is here. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, the warriors of the Scenic Martial Merchant Company shouted and moved aside. Someone led the way and they went straight to the center without stopping. After dozens of breaths, Gu Chencha's group stopped in a hall made of giant wood. At this time, the so-called young Master Lai Han of the Scenic Martial Merchant Company was talking to someone. No, it was not a person, but an old ape wearing human clothes. This old ape's whole body was covered in white fur that glowed with a metallic luster. Only on the top of its head was a tuft of blood-red fur. It did not look like an immortal, but a murderous aura. Lai Han, you actually colluded with the demon ape. The female cavalry Yaolian was shocked. She could already see that this old ape was a peerless expert among the demon ape. Seeing this situation, Gu Chencha's heart flashed with killing intent. The demon barbarians and the imperial court were absolute enemies, and they were extremely cruel to the common people. The Scenic Martial Merchant Company and the Tranquil Immortal Department were absolute enemies of the imperial court. But now that they were colluding with the demon barbarians, it was an act of betrayal. The nature was completely different. Chapter 298. Of course, with Gu Chencha's identity, he wouldn't go so far as to kill a small fry from Scenic Martial Commerce here. His main goal here was to investigate the people and grasp the situation. He would then come up with a defensive strategy or attract more adventurers over to defend against the monster and barbarian race attack. He passed on the frontline situation here to Zhuge, Lu Baiyue, and the others to analyze and come up with the most perfect countermeasure. Yaolian, that isn't true. How can you say that we are colluding with the demon ape? We are working together to get rid of the traitors of Coming Celestial Department and get rid of evil for the Imperial Court. That young Master Lai Han didn't care about Yao Lian's thoughts at all. He looked at Gu Qinsha and sized him up, however. I am here to invite you to the Great Fortune Games, so why did you bring an outsider? This young Master Chen wants to join our Great Fortune Games. Yao Lian purposely said that Gu Qinsha was one of them. At the same time, she could tell that Scenic Martial Commerce and Coming Celestial Department were like fire and water. Not long ago, Wu Dangkong had been humiliated by Kaming's celestial department. Even the entire scenic martial commerce was inferior to them, so they had to take revenge. Forget it. Young Master Lai Han said, I heard that you are an important person in the Great Fortune Games. Your Yao family and the Great Fortune Games are really close, and you have been listed as one of the grooming targets? This is an internal matter of the Great Fortune Games. Young Master Lai Han doesn't need to ask too much. Yao Yan's tone wasn't polite and she placed all her attention on the old ape. The old ape's eyes were dark and sunken, and he looked at her with a lustful gaze. This girl's tone is unfriendly. The old ape opened his mouth, however, her body is filled with essence energy, and she seems to have used some medicine to expand her dantian and mind ocean. The Great Fortune Games aren't simple. Since that is the case, then I will bring this girl back to enjoy her. The moment the old ape spoke, the entire place turned cold, and everyone shivered. Keng keng keng. Yao Yan and the few cavalrymen pulled out their blades and waited. Old ancestor, please calm down. Young Master Lai Han hurried to play the good cop. Old ancestor is a Tao Realm 9 transformation, glass jade body great monster king. Why bother with us juniors? What? Tao Realm 9 transformations, glass jade body. Yao Yan's expression changed drastically. She had just stepped into the realm of Tao and had only undergone the first transformation, submit to qi and abstain from grain. However, she also knew the terror of the 9 transformations. Even if there were 100 of her, she would still be slaughtered like vegetables. The appearance of such a demon here meant that the true upper echelons of the demon race had appeared. Alright, I know that the Hongyun Games and the Tranquil Immortal Department are enemies. I've been plotting something big in the dark. You've come here this time, and I know some of your missions. Of course, I also have a mission. Lai Han waved his hand. Why don't we cooperate? We can make a career out of it. What should I do? Yao Yan knew that she was in danger. If she refused, she might not be able to walk out of this door today. It's very simple. You can rely on our scenic martial chamber of commerce. As a spy, I will give you sufficient benefits. How about it? Child Lai Han said, although the Hongyun nation has hidden its strength well, it is still far inferior to our scenic objects chamber of commerce. You won't have a future there, so it's better for a good bird to break a tree to perch on. So it was you who betrayed me in order to rope me in. Yao Yan frowned. This is a serious matter. I have to go back and think about it. I'll give you an answer in a few days. How about it? Ha ha ha, is this a delaying tactic? Child Lai Han laughed. To be honest, if you enter my door today, you won't be able to leave. The barbarians and the demon race armies are about to attack, and I'm discussing important matters with the ape ancestor. If you go out and leak the news, won't you add more trouble to me? You're really bold. Yao Yan sneered. You made an invitation, held a banquet, and invited me to rely on your scenic martial chamber of commerce. If I don't obey, I'm afraid I'll die in the hands of this demon ape today. Jia 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 jia. The old demon ape laughed and was about to stand up. Child Lai Han quickly stopped him. Ancestor, don't worry. There will be benefits in the future. The old demon ape didn't move. Incense Master Yao Lian, this time I invited you not only to threaten you, but also to give you benefits. Child Lai Han said, I've been ordered to rope you in. If you join us, I have a 2-cauldron pill here. This pill was given by the ancient emperor to the nobles. This pill is most suitable for people who step into the Tao realm to cleanse their marrow, expand their meridians, and strengthen their foundations. If you consume it, not only will you increase your strength by 2 cauldrons, but you'll also immediately step into the second transformation of the Tao realm, the 9 oxen and 2 tigers realm. Apart from that, these 2 cauldrons can expand your acupoints, absorb more spiritual energy, and strengthen your dantian's compression ability. In the future, it'll be easier to cultivate Xiantian earth energy. Your Yao family is an ancient family and is the best at medicine. You should know the effects of the 2-cauldron pill, right? These 2-cauldron pills are indeed good stuff. After Gu Chernsha heard this, he nodded his head. This pill was obtained from a sacrifice. Based on his calculations, with Yao Lian's talent, it would be extremely difficult for her to cultivate the 6th transformation of the Tao realm, Xiantian Earth Energy. She probably only had a 10% chance. If she consumed the 2-cauldron pill, she would have at least an 80% chance of cultivating the 6th transformation of the Xiantian Earth Energy. You actually took out the 2-cauldron pill. Yao Lian was moved. This pill is very expensive. I think you have other ideas besides wanting me to join you. This is what the higher-ups want. Lai Han said, I'm just following orders. As for what I want you to do in the future, the higher-ups will pass it down. You don't have a choice today. Either you get humiliated to death by old ape, or you get the 2-cauldron pill to increase your strength. It seems like Concubine Ming has her eyes on something in the Yao family and some secret of the Hongyun games. Otherwise, why would she spend so much on me? Yao Lian said. That's not something I know. Lai Han looked at Gu Chernsha. Mr. Chen is actually in the Tao realm, and the 2nd transformation? He's also a strong person. Why don't you join the Scenic Martial Trade Association? The Scenic Martial Trade Association colludes with demons. That's a big crime. How can I be on their side? Gu Chernsha laughed. He didn't care. These people were playing tricks on the border. It was useless for the big picture, but it was also a way to accumulate power. However, this method of recruiting people was simple and crude. It was obvious that Wu Dangkong didn't have any capable people under his command. Since he's so stubborn, then kill him. Lai Han waved his hand. Old ancestor, I'll leave him to you. Wait. Yao Lian waved her hand. Lai Han, no matter how fierce and arrogant your Scenic Martial Trade Association is, you can't cross the line. Mr. Chen has a reputation. You colluded with demons and killed him as you please. If this gets out, I'm afraid Concubine Ming won't be able to handle it. Who can spread this? Lai Han sneered. Right now, Concubine Ming's enemy is the Coming Xian Department. In a few days, the Coming Xian Department will be destroyed. At that time, there will be no power in the world that can compete with Concubine Ming. Incense Master Yao Lian, it's none of your business. You'd better get out of the way. Lai Han sneered. Could it be that you don't agree to join us? You're on the same side as demons. Why would I join you? Yao Lian flatly refused, ready to fight. Jia. Good, very good. I have a plaything now. Don't worry, I won't let you die so quickly. The old monster ape laughed, very happy. It grabbed forward with its palm, and suddenly, Xiantian Gang Qi surged, turning into a Qi cover, covering everything. Crackle! Just as the Xiantian Gang Qi was about to fall, a figure appeared. He drew a circle with his hands, and suddenly, a huge whirlpool appeared, sucking in all the Xiantian Gang Qi. The old monster ape's expression suddenly changed. It screamed and was about to fly up, as if it had seen a powerful person. However, the moment it flew up, the person gently waved his hand, and the huge Xiantian Gang Qi turned into a palm, pressing the old monster ape to the ground. No matter how hard it struggled, it was useless. This change happened in an instant. Greetings, Red Sun Emissary. After seeing this person clearly, Yao Lian knelt down on one knee emotionally. Red Sun Emissary? Gu Chernsha had sensed that someone was here, which was why he didn't attack when the old monster ape attacked. The Red Sun Emissary was a young man who was really handsome. His face was like jade, his body was tall and straight, and he gave off a heroic aura. Gu Chernsha sensed that this person's cultivation was actually higher than his. Tao Realm 15 transformations. Heaven's eye hung in the air. Very good. A smile appeared on the Red Sun Emissary's face. Chief Yao Lian, get up. You weren't threatened by death and weren't tempted by the 2 cauldrons of pills. You have shown enough loyalty. I will definitely report this to the master and tell him of your loyalty. Also, these 2 cauldrons of pills will be your reward. This monster ape has some strength and can be refined into a puppet for me to use. He didn't even look at young Master Lai Han. He waved his hands and a talisman formed. This talisman wasn't formed from Xiantian Gangqi but from the soul. It was really mysterious and it directly shot into the old monster ape's mind. This is an ancient mystic technique. It is somewhat similar to the faithless mind-seizing talisman. However, the faithless mind-seizing talisman allows an extremely weak person to control a powerful existence. This mystic technique is called brainwashing. In an instant, the old monster ape stood up. His eyes were blank and he had already become a puppet. He wasn't as smart as before and his intelligence was greatly reduced. You are really bold. The Red Sun emissary said to young Master Lai Han, hand over the 2 cauldrons of pills and join our Hongyun meet. We will let you live. Jiang Hongri, you actually turned this old monster ape into a puppet. This is a huge problem. Young Master Lai Han wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he giggled. Our concubine Ming has already discussed with your master. Why do you want to deal with me? Chapter 299. Jiang Hongri, you really are smart. Young Master Lai Han pointed at the old ape and said, I entered the mountain once and was caught by this ape. I was almost eaten by him, but I lied to him and told him that I could do business with him. I gave him the 9 cauldron pill, dragon raising pill, and dragon creation pill. He believed me and really let me go. He then brought large amounts of treasures over. Of course, I couldn't take out these pills, but I wasn't his match either. I could only use you guys to kill me. As he spoke, he waved his hand. Someone opened a row of wooden houses and found that there were many treasures inside. To show my sincerity, you can take half of these treasures. How about that? Young Master Lai Han said. Jiang Hongri took a look and found that there were many spirit herbs, ores, and metal essences. There were also the remains of some powerful existences that were worth a lot. He nodded, as expected of one of the 49 young masters of Scenic Martial Trade Association. You are good at using others to kill me. However, I want all of these treasures. I want you to compensate me with 2 cauldrons of pills. Otherwise, you will die today. How about that? I want to see if anyone comes to save you. Jiang Hongri's cultivation was at the 14th transformation, so he naturally had the right to suppress young Master Lai Han. Young Master Lai Han's cultivation was at the 2nd transformation. Compared to someone at the 14th transformation, one was an ant and the other was a god dragon. There was an insurmountable gap. Jiang Hongri, is what you said true? Young Master Lai Han's expression changed. I had no choice this time. Don't be so overbearing. So what if I did? Jiang Hongri laughed. Jing Fanqing was captured and tied up by the Calm Celestial Department. I went to take a look, and it was so embarrassing. If it wasn't for Black Heaven Earth Sect taking out the Green Dragon God Wood in exchange, he would still be locked up in jail. As for Wu Dangkong, his face was covered in dirt and he didn't dare to make any big moves. Your Scenic Martial Trade Association has lost the hearts of the world, so no matter what you do, it will be hard for you to recover. Why not join us? You can just kill me. Young Master Lai Han looked at death calmly. That's fine, Jiang Hongri said. Although our Hongyun Games and the Scenic Martial Chamber of Commerce are working together, you've maliciously schemed against us today. If we take the lead, people in the future will follow suit. Wouldn't that cause chaos? Young Master Jiang, why must you do this? At this time, a calm voice also arrived in front of young Master Lai Han, who shot out a fiery red Gangqi to resist Jiang Hongri's Gangqi. It was a woman. She appeared to be about 25 or 26 years old. With a slight smile on her face, she unleashed a ring-shaped flame aura with one hand. With a slight tremble, she shattered Jiang Hongri's energy and even forced him to take a step back. "It's you? Ke Huang-er?" Jiang Hongri looked at this woman with a fearful expression. "Why would you protect such a small fry? I've already seen your master." Ke Huang-er didn't have any intention to fight with Jiang Hongri against this woman who had suddenly appeared. "Your lord, us and the Scenic Martial Merchant Guild have already reached an agreement on strategy. Let's forget about this matter. Of course, the Scenic Martial Merchant Guild will compensate you. Just give this Yaolian 2 cauldrons of pills, and let's forget about this grudge. How about that? Since you've spoken, I can only do so." Jiang Hongru sneered. "Lai Han, I'll let you off today. If you dare to plot against me again in the future, I won't let you off lightly." Young Master Lai Han smiled but didn't answer. He just took out a jade bottle from his bosom and painfully threw it to Yao Lian. "Ke Huang-er? Isn't this Ke Ying-er's younger sister?" When Gu Chensha saw this woman, he recalled the information he had on the demon race. Ke Ying-er was the concubine of the nest of 10,000 dragons demon saint, Li Wanlong. Li Wanlong commanded the demons of thousands of mountains and rivers, and his cultivation was comparable to an ancient saint. However, the demon race wasn't a monolithic block. Many races fought with each other. For example, the snake race and the golden-winged great Pung race were mortal enemies. There was also the tiger race and the fox race who were enemies. These were all natural antagonisms between races. It was the law of nature. Even if they had cultivated to become demons, there was no exception. Ke Ying-er belonged to the bird race. The bird race also included the golden-winged great Pung. However, Ke Ying-er's bloodline was even more noble than the golden-winged great Pung. She belonged to the royal bloodline of the vermilion bird. The vermilion bird was one of the 4 sacred beasts. Its status was extraordinary, even higher than the phoenix. In order to win over the bird race, Li Wanlong naturally had to marry the nobility of the bird race. Ke Huang-er was Ke Ying-er's younger sister. She was also a powerful character in the demon race. Gu Chensha looked at this woman and suddenly thought of the burly man who sold the vermilion bird's eggs. It was possible that he was related to Ke Huang-er and Ke Ying. Very good. It seems like a huge conspiracy is slowly unfolding against our tranquil immortal department. I can disguise myself as a nobody and find out some big secret. Gu Chensha made a series of deductions and had some clues in his heart. Ke Ying-er had almost wiped out the entire tranquil immortal department. This debt had always been in the hearts of Gu Chensha and Liu Baiwe. Now, it seemed like they had found an opportunity to take revenge. Jin Suebo was also collecting information about the demon race. He knew that the most noble races among the bird race were the vermilion bird bloodline behind Ke Ying. There were also the phoenix race, the golden-winged great Pung race, and the peacock race. As for the eagle race, the vulture race, the swallow race, the magpie race, and the owl race, they weren't as powerful as the other 4 races. However, even though there were internal strife within the bird race, they were still relatively united. They were one of the most powerful races among the demon race. But the strongest was still the ape race. The ape race suppressed the bird race, the snake race, the sea demon race, the fox race, the tiger race, the wolf race, the ox race, and the insect race. They were the overlords of the demon race. Moreover, the ape race was rather independent. Even Li Wanlong found it hard to order them around. If the demon race was united, there wouldn't be any problems for the humans. However, since ancient times the demon race had been killing each other. It was impossible for them to unite. They couldn't count on snakes and rats to work together. They also couldn't count on birds and insects to turn hostility into friendship. If that burly man's vermilion bird egg was really Ke Ying-er's doing, I might be able to beat her at her own game. Gu Chensha remained calm and pondered. The Hongyun Games are organized by the mysterious second brother, Gu Xiansha. The Scenic Martial Merchant Association is led by Wu Dangkong. Now, Kaying Er's demon race is involved. Only Gu Tongjian's National Fortune Party hasn't come out yet. However, I definitely believe that the four forces have discussed this in secret. Let's just forget about this. Kei Huanger waved her hand. Jiang Hongri, I was just about to discuss the details of our cooperation. You can all leave first. This subordinate will leave. Yao Lian had obtained some benefit. She hurriedly bowed to Jiang Hongri again, gave Gu Chernsha a meaningful look, and retreated. Outside, Yao Lian's tone was apologetic. I'm sorry, young Master Chen. I almost got you killed. It's fine. I didn't expect the Hongyun Games to have such an expert. It's shocking. Your Hongyun Games has a strong foundation and a peerless expert. Your future is limitless. Gu Chensha faked a sigh. Then, young master, are you interested in joining us? Yao Lian asked. If young master is willing to join us, we might even be able to help you in terms of scholarly honors. This sentence showed how much control the Hongyun Games had in the imperial court. I couldn't ask for more. Gu Chensha used this identity to join the Feng clan's Spirit Light Poetry Society. Although he disappeared afterward, it didn't matter if he joined the Hongyun Games this time. However, I will have to report this to the clan. Very good, very good. Yao Lian was overjoyed. With Brother Chen's strength, you can definitely become a Joss master. I will go report to the higher-ups and have them summon Brother Chen. After passing the examination, Brother Chen will be able to wield great power and receive a generous reward. The salary of our Hongyun Games is very generous. If you become a Joss master, you will receive 10,000 gold coins, 10 spirit pills, and a horned dragon armor at the entrance ceremony. 10,000 gold coins, this is a very generous salary. Gu Chensha was shocked. A prince's annual salary was only a few tens of thousands. Of course, in the recent years, the imperial court had been developing very quickly. The world was rich and the common people were getting richer. However, a small Joss master of a gang had such a salary. One could see how powerful the Hongyun Games was. Not counting the Coming Immortal Bureau, Gu Chensha's income from his fief was already over 100 million. However, his fief had a large population, and his soldiers had expanded to 50,000. Raising the soldiers and horses was not a small expense. In addition, there were several thousand servants and maids. Not to mention, there were all kinds of reporting agencies, purchasing medicinal ingredients, refining magical treasures, and training experts. All in all, the annual expenses amounted to tens of millions. In reality, he could not save much money. This was the result of the 6,000-year-old bone demons working hard without asking for anything in return. They planted large amounts of medicinal fields and rice fields, raised strong bulls, and built roads. Of course, a large part of the reason was that he would not sell many of the good things. Instead, he would hoard them. For example, the fire dates and purple-green immortal peaches produced in the black tortoise's nest were not sold. Instead, they were refined into medicinal pills and stored as strategic resources. I will take my leave first. Inform the clan that I will contact the Joss master in a few days. Gu Chensha cupped his hands in farewell and left the medicinal pond. As soon as he left the medicinal pond, he activated the Dragon's Gate and instantly disappeared. Then, he locked onto Jiang Hongri and Kei Huang. At this time, Jiang Hongri and Kei Huang seemed to have finished their conversation and flew away. Gu Chensha did not even think about it and followed Kei Huang. This woman was an enemy. The right thing to do was to get rid of her first. Moreover, he could learn the secret of the vermilion bird egg from her. If it was really the vermilion bird egg, he might be able to obtain it if he figured out the conspiracy behind it. Kei Huang-er's flying speed was extremely fast, but in front of Gu Chensha, it was not worth mentioning. With Gu Chensha's current cultivation, He could single-handedly challenge an expert of the 19 transformations like K-ing-er. After he cultivated his primordial spirit to the astral projection stage, he used the power of his primordial spirit to activate the Dragon's Gate and Buzhou Palace. As expected, K-Huang-er flew into the depths of the wilderness and landed in a small basin. The basin was hundreds of miles wide and there was an altar. A group of barbarians lived around the altar, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. On the altar, a huge vermilion bird statue was enshrined. This vermilion bird statue was carved from fire jade, and there were countless runes circulating around it. Chapter 300. K-Huang-er flew down and gathered with K-ing-er. Sister, can the vermilion bird statue made from the fire jade absorb the faith of the barbarians? This is the best chance. The evil god of the barbarians has been sealed and can no longer control the believers. We can control the barbarians and steal their faith. The power of faith is very mysterious. It's the hope of all living beings and the key to becoming a god. K-Huang-er spoke. I asked Li Wanlong to make this fire jade. It contains many mysteries and can store faith but can't be refined. Only by obtaining the Book of Heavenly Demon can we make full use of the faith. K-ing-er said, therefore, we must obtain the Heavenly Demon Book and that black tortoise. As long as we obtain them, the two of us can become the strongest in a single leap. It's not impossible for us to become existences like Li Wanlong. That's right, sister, I've already sent people to the border for the vermilion bird egg, but no one bought it. K-Huang-er said, but I think it will be bought by the Celestial Tranquility Department sooner or later. This vermilion bird egg is dead. Even Li Wanlong can't activate it. Maybe only by borrowing the power of the Celestial Tranquility Department can we do this. The black tortoise egg in the chaotic demonic ape temple is also dead and has no vitality. Even the chaotic demonic ape god can't do anything about it. But it was activated by that brat Gu Chensha. He has secrets that no one knows about. We need to borrow his power to activate the vermilion bird egg and steal his Book of Heavenly Demon. At the same time, we can obtain his secret. It's best if we capture him and get his Dragon Gate Buzhou Palace. K-ing-er sneered again and again. The Celestial Tranquility Department truly has a strong foundation. They have the Black Tortoise, the Heavenly Demon Book, and the Buzhou Palace, all these peerless treasures. That Liu Baiwei has even successfully cultivated the Great God Massacre technique. Other than that, they even have the reincarnation of the gods of 5 seasons and a few peerless geniuses. In another 3 to 5 years, when that pair of despicable men and women, Liu Baiwei and Gu Chensha, have a slightly higher cultivation base and have unlocked the secrets of the Heavenly Demon Book, I'm afraid we really won't be able to do anything to them. So this plan must succeed. Elder sister, that brat Gu Chensha can't be underestimated. If he activates the vermilion bird egg and gives birth to a vermilion bird, then wouldn't we be in trouble? K-Huang-er said, although that vermilion bird's egg is dead, it is still our clan's treasure. Nothing must go wrong. I already have a plan. The vermilion bird egg contains a secret technique that I refined. When the time comes, I can even control that brat Gu Chensha. K-ing-er said, I asked Li Wanlong to refine this secret art. No matter how high Gu Chensha's cultivation is, it's useless. As long as he activates the vermilion bird will absorb all the energy in his body and even his primordial spirit as nourishment. Then, it will occupy his body. After obtaining the Heavenly Demon Book, it will immediately fly back and become my true body. At that time, I will be the vermilion bird god who has the Heavenly Demon Book. Since Big Sister has a plan, then I can rest assured. I will act according to Big Sister's plan. What was the most crucial point in his sister's plan? I'll do it. K-Huang-er's eyes flickered with a strange light. However, I also hope to obtain benefit. Us sisters can share the Heavenly Demon Book. K. said, "Sisters are of one mind, and their sharpness can cut through metal. The heavenly demon book can turn into a heavenly demon kingdom, and there are many demon souls for us to devour. There are also countless treasures inside. We sisters can share as much as we want, and we can also refine that black tortoise. Water and fire complement each other." "Will Li Wanlong forcefully take away the heavenly demon book?" Ke Huanger asked. "No, he is also cultivating a secret art in seclusion to explore the mysteries of the heavenly Tao. He is also closely deducing what the heavenly talisman emperor is doing. Moreover, that barbarian saint and the barbarian evil gods are only sealed and not dead. If he wants to use this opportunity to refine those existences, he must make many arrangements. In the battle between the heavenly Tao and the heavenly talisman emperor, he will use the heavenly talisman emperor to gain an advantage." Ke said, "We are now collecting the faith of these barbarians and preparing to open the heavenly demon book." Ke said, "I have already reached an agreement with Wu Dangkong and ancient mystical Sand Gu Tanjian to divide the calming immortal department. Needless to say, Gu Tanjian's power is simply world-shaking, but ancient mystical sand is also unfathomable. His cultivation is not below Big Sister's." Ke Huanger frowned. "Among the sons of the heavenly talisman emperor, Gu Huasha's aptitude is the highest, but ancient mystical sand is the most mysterious. He is not in the imperial court and roams everywhere. I didn't expect him to have such a fortuitous encounter. I will find a time to meet this person personally." Ke sneered. "I think this person can be refined into a puppet to work for me. However, it is better to contact them first. That Wu Dangkong has been capturing barbarians, demonic apes, and many other living beings. I don't know what he wants, but he seems to want to refine souls? What kind of demonic technique does he cultivate?" Ke Huanger said. "Eager for instant benefits, this girl is simply a lunatic. I don't know why the heavenly talisman emperor chose her to oversee the empire. If he chose Gu Chunsha or even Lu Baiwe, the world would be united. How would the barbarians and demonic apes have a chance?" Ke frowned. "I really don't know what the heavenly talisman emperor wants to do. We just have to follow our plan," Ke Huanger said. "Big Sister, how is your realm now? Not long ago, you finally stepped into the 20th transformation of the Tao realm, gathering and dispersing impermanent. Now that you are trying to break through to the 21st transformation, how is your body transforming into the 5 elements? As long as you succeed, you will be able to use the Connate 5 Saint secret technique. I am still lacking a little. I can only turn into flames now and can't change between the 5 elements to form a cycle. Moreover, turning into flames is a divine ability that comes with the vermilion bird bloodline. I have yet to comprehend this secret." Ke shook her head. As she spoke, her entire body turned into a ball of flames. In the depths of the flames, a vermilion bird could be faintly seen. The flames were scorching hot and could instantly vaporize any metal or soil. "Amazing, this girl has already touched the realm of the 21st transformation," Gu Chunsha secretly calculated. "With my current cultivation, I'm afraid I won't be able to gain any advantage against her. If she was still at the 19th transformation, I might be able to kill her. Moreover, there's still this Ke Huang. She's not easy to deal with. Now that the 2 sisters are stirring up trouble, I can make use of them. Since I know the secret of the vermilion bird's egg, I might be able to refine the vermilion bird. This matter still depends on Zhuge Ye's intelligence." He immediately told this secret to Zhuge Ye. He told him to send someone to buy the vermilion bird's egg and observe Ke-ing's reaction. Then, he hid here and watched Ke-ing cultivate. Gu Chunsha was also extremely patient. He waited quietly at the side. After a full 4 hours, Ke-ing's body suddenly trembled and she transformed back into her human form. Her face was filled with joy. The vermilion bird's egg has been bought by the Celestial Tranquility Department. This is a great opportunity. We can prepare here right now. How do we prepare? Ke Huang'er asked. I've absorbed so much faith here just for this moment. Ke stood up. Immediately gather the hundreds of thousands of barbarians here, and let them increase the power of faith. When Gu Chensha activates the vermilion bird's egg, I'll execute a secret art and kill all these barbarians. Then, I'll gather a huge amount of resentment and soul energy. With the power of faith and wish that I've painstakingly accumulated, I'll be able to turn the activated vermilion bird into my own will in an instant. I'll then tear apart Gu Chensha's consciousness and devour his primordial spirit, taking away everything he has. This method is indeed terrifying. She's gathered such a long period of faith, in addition to the hundreds of thousands of barbarians' vengeful souls. She's activated the secret art at the same time and combined it with the arrangements in the vermilion bird's egg. If I'm caught off guard and lose the protection of the heavenly sacrificial decree, there's a 90% chance that this plan will succeed. This woman's method is truly vicious. Fortunately, I planned before I acted. Even when I encountered the vermilion bird's egg, I wasn't blinded by greed. Instead, I observed the changes. As expected, I found out the scheme within. This time, I can beat her at her own game. With Gu Chensha's own calculation ability, Zhuge Ye's calculation, and Lu Baiyue's divine abilities, he would fight with Ke to see if the demon saint behind her, Li Wanlong, was really powerful. At this moment, just as Gu Chensha was hiding and observing the two sisters' movements, Zhuge Ye and Lu Baiyue had already bought the vermilion bird's egg back in his castle. Now, the vermilion bird's egg was placed on the altar in the depths of the ground. The black tortoise baby's eyes darted around as he looked at it. Mr. Zhuge, I didn't expect that Ke would scheme against us again. How do you think we should beat her at her own game? Asked Lu Baiyue. This is no small matter. Perhaps demon Saint Li Wanlong is supporting her. Zhuge Ye wasn't happy at all. The ape tribe and the barbarian tribe are pressing on our borders. They'll attack at any moment. The Hongyun Games, the National Fate Party, and the Scenic Objects Chamber of Commerce have formed an alliance to deal with the Celestial Tranquility Department. The Immortal Tao sect is eyeing us covetously, and the Great Might Dynasty is watching us closely. Things aren't looking good. Perhaps our current changes are all part of Li Wanlong's calculations. Then we'll scheme against Li Wanlong. Lu Baiyue thought quickly. Mr. Zhuge is the Lord of 7 stars. His wisdom is extraordinary, and he's the leader of the sages. He must be confident. I haven't completely fused with the 7-star profound truths. Right now, I can only be considered half a lord of 7 stars. Let me divine a thing or two. Zhuge Ye circulated his divine abilities. Starlight gathered in front of him, forming a diagram that depicted everyone's future after hatching the vermilion bird's egg. Thousands of future calculations revolved, and finally, they exploded. Zhuge Ye's eyes were bleeding. Mr. Zhuge, are you all right? Lu Baiyue hurriedly transmitted her innate astral energy to him. I'm fine. I saw too much of the future, and the heavenly Tao backfired. Zhuge Ye waved his hand. Right now, we can beat her at her own game. We can use the heavenly demon tome to backfire on the vermilion bird's egg. How do we do that? Lu Baiyue knew that her wisdom was inferior to Zhuge Ye's. The heavenly demon tome has the sleeping soul of Gaochen suppressing all the fiends. Later, when the vermilion bird's egg is activated, we can send it into the heavenly demon tome. The activated vermilion bird's egg will devour the fiend's soul wantonly to deal with the divine beast. Furthermore, with Ke and Li Wanlong's schemes, the seal on the heavenly demon tome will loosen completely. We can watch them fight each other and reap the benefit. Zhuge Ye thought of an excellent plan. Divine Strategy Battalions Dragon Talisman Moon Worshipping Pavilion 499690-348 Divine Strategy Battalions Dragon Talisman Heavenly Secrets Pavilion 34752617 Divine Strategy Battalions Dragon Talisman All Sacred Halls 498796-571. Chapter 301. That's a good plan, but there are a lot of details that need to be considered. For example, if Li Wanlong's will enters the Book of Heavenly Demons from the Vermilion Bird Egg, would he be able to come to an agreement with the will of North Star? Lu Baiwe said, Li Wanlong is a great sage of the Yao race. He can think of everything we can think of. Of course, I've long since predicted this possibility. But, Zhuge Ye said solemnly, he definitely won't be able to predict me, and I've already sent the news to Gu Danjian and Wu Dankong. It's possible that the two of them will spread the news, but it's also possible that they won't. Even if Li Wanlong knows about this news, it's still not within his calculations, and it will make the situation more complicated. My idea just now is just the beginning. It still involves the matter of me completely fusing with the seven-star profound meaning. If this matter is involved, then my chances of fusing with it will be much higher. As the two of them were talking, Jean Suebwa flew in and dropped to one knee. Minister, Mr. Zhuge, I've dealt with Wu Dankong according to your instructions. I've finally gotten your information in exchange for a lot of resources. This is the most important God-forbidden talisman. He took out a talisman carved from jade. It seemed to have the auras of numerous gods, ancient and powerful. So it really is a God-forbidden talisman left behind by the martial emperor. Back when he unified the world, he hated the gods, so he created a God-forbidden talisman that can restrain god power. When he unleashed it, the gods' believers within 1,000 kilometers wouldn't receive anything in return. Instead, the power of the sacrifices would be absorbed by the talisman. Zhuge Ye stroked the talisman. But Wu Dankong also has a few tricks up his sleeve. He's secretly arranged a few things in this talisman. How can he hide it from me? You have a series of plans, sir, Lu Baiwei guessed. So what's our comprehensive plan? Let's not make any moves for now and set everything up. Use this talisman to secretly suppress the Vermilion Bird Egg. Originally, I wanted to use this talisman to block out the power of some of the old-timers, making it impossible for them to detect that I've become a Lord of 7 Stars. But now I have another way. Zhuge Ye said, however, the main fighting force of our Calmness Division isn't me, but the Princess and Prince Chen. The two of you are extremely terrifying when you work together. As your cultivation level increases, even I can't predict what your potential will be like in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chunsha is currently monitoring K-ing and K-Huang. Should I come back first and activate the Vermilion Bird Egg? Or should we go all out and seize the opportunity to capture these two women? Wouldn't that be even more foolproof? Lu Baiwei calculated many moves. These two women aren't important. What's important is Li Wanlong behind them. In addition, there are some old-timers in the Vermilion Bird clan's bloodline. If we capture or kill these two women, the Yao clan will retaliate fiercely. We can't hold them off for now. Zhuge Ye said, moreover, these two women still have value. They came to an agreement with Wu Dankong and Gu Xingjian, but it's actually just a ploy to keep each other in check. When I execute my plan, I'll be able to make them fight each other endlessly, giving Calming Xian some breathing room. Now that you mention it, I really do have a lot of ideas. Lu Baiwei immediately understood. Then I'll call Chunsha back now. We'll deal with this Vermilion Bird Egg together. That's right. We're more or less familiar with the situation at the border. The ape race and the barbarians are colluding to launch a counterattack against us. However, I estimate that it'll take several months for their army to gather. It's not something they can accomplish in a day, so we still have a lot of time to plan. Zhuge performed an incantation gesture, and a beam of starlight shot out and landed on the soul-sealing talisman. A strange figure appeared within the talisman. "How could Wu Dongkong's little tricks fool you, sir?" Lu Baiwe laughed. About 4 hours later, Gu Chensha returned from the depths of the wildlands. "Sir, you already know about my report, right?" As soon as he returned, he saw Zhuge wielding the soul-sealing talisman and circulating the power of the stars. "Yes, I do. Now let's execute our plan. If we succeed, not only will we obtain a holy vermilion bird, but we'll also be able to open the book of heavenly demons. I'll also be able to directly ascend to the Lord of 7 Stars." Zhuge transmitted his thoughts into Gu Chensha's sea of consciousness, explaining his plan. Gu Chensha instantly became familiar with the plan, and the 4 experts once again began to lay out their plans. The 4th expert, Gu Huasha, remained outside to oversee the Celestial Calmness Department. The Black Tortoise Baby, Zhuge, Gu Chensha, and Lu Baiwe once again gathered together and circulated their magic power. Powerful energy poured into Zhuge's body. Zhuge waved his hand, and countless strands of starlight descended from the heavens, converging into stellar transformation, stellar serpent, and stellar scar. In the blink of an eye, the figure within the soul-sealing talisman was bewitched. He didn't refine the figure within the talisman, fearing that Wu Dongkong would find out. Instead, he used a bewitching technique to bewitch the figure. Soul-sealing domain. Zhuge activated the talisman. It completely enveloped the vermilion bird egg and the book of heavenly demons. The power of this soul-sealing talisman can temporarily isolate the prying eyes of some mighty figures. It can also isolate K-Ing-Er's senses. We can take this opportunity to seize control of the vermilion bird egg while incubating it. Then, at the final moment, we can release the vermilion bird's aura. K-Ing-Er will be anxious and gather all the energy she prepared and transmit it across space. We can use this as a diversion and blast this energy into the book of heavenly demons. Zhuge repeatedly calculated and came up with the best plan. In that case, let's begin the preparations. Gu Chensha circulated all the energy in his body, and his essence spirit floated above his head. Boom! The 4 experts circulated their essence spirits at the same time and gathered their energy. Gu Chensha could still cultivate the Son of Heaven's God-conferment art. His essence spirit was actually cultivated from the Sun and Moon Dragon's handle, and it contained infinite profundities. Back then, he was able to use the Sun and Moon Dragon's blood to incubate the Black Tortoise egg. Now, his strength was countless times stronger than before. The essence of the Son of Heaven's God-conferment art had not been lost, and when combined with the great massacre divine art, it became more and more powerful. At that moment, he, the Black Tortoise Baby, Zhuge, and Lu Baiwe's essence spirits fused into one, transforming into a talisman. This talisman was the quintessential profundity of the Son of Heaven's God-conferment art. The quintessential profundity of this essence spirit was injected into the vermilion bird egg. The vermilion bird egg instantly floated up, and countless flames appeared on it. These flames were the vermilion bird's true fire, the purest flame in the world. This was the law of fire. The law of fire burned over and wrapped around the 4 of them. They immediately felt like they were being incinerated, as though they were about to be refined into gas. However, the Black Tortoise Baby emitted a water light that protected everyone. Water and fire complemented each other, immediately transforming into a strange energy that circulated around their bodies. Gu Chensha first felt the Black Tortoise's law of water and the vermilion bird's law of fire rush into the Dragon's Gate. The heaven-mending divine general inside the Dragon's Gate was wrapped in threads, and countless rays of light appeared all over his body. These rays of light gathered and flowed around his body. The heaven-mending divine general's body was once again refined, and his tyrannical strength had at least doubled. Meanwhile, the law of water and fire surged into the depths of Buzhou Palace. The huge Buzhou Palace squirmed, and its fusion with the Dragon's Gate became even more profound, as though it was really going to fuse into one. Last time, Gu Chensha and Lu Baiwei refined the heavenly sin and earthly evil twin stars, and their cultivations underwent earth-shattering changes. Jin Suebua, don't just stand there and watch. You also have the profound meaning of the 5 stars in your body. While you're helping us, you can refine a portion of it, and your strength will reach a tyrannical level. My soul-restraining talisman can isolate your connection with the peerless heavenly book. This will allow you to temporarily escape the control of the book. Zhuge Ye pointed at Jin Suebua. Mr. Zhuge included me in your calculations? Jin Suebua was overjoyed. That's right. I know your situation. The peerless heavenly book itself is a god, and it borrowed your strength to do things for it outside, like offering sacrifices to it to recover its strength. Zhuge Ye continued, but you're already under the control of the peerless heavenly book. This is your best chance. You might even become the Lord of the 5 stars, half an innate saint. When that time comes, the Celestial Calmness Bureau will have another expert. I really am under the control of the peerless heavenly book, but if I isolate myself from the book and secretly refine the profound meaning of the 5 stars, I'm afraid the peerless heavenly book will truly hate me. When that happens, I'm afraid we'll incur its wrath. Jin Suebua was still a bit afraid. Don't worry, Zhuge Ye said with a cold smile. I've already divined that there's a big problem with the book. It won't be easy to recover from it. This is all part of the Emperor's plan. In that case, I'll take a gamble and devour the peerless heavenly book. Jin Suebua knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Very good. Circulate your profound meaning and accept the baptism of the fire and water laws. Zhuge Ye sent out many runes. The 5 of them worked together, and their Yuan Shun and Dermic powers circulated at an even faster speed. Gu Chensha's power poured into the vermilion bird egg, causing it to tremble violently. After 3 days and 3 nights, it suddenly cracked open and a small firebird flew out. However, there was a rune in the depths of the small firebird that tightly locked its body. That rune seemed to be formed from 10,000 divine dragons. 10,000 dragons divine lock rune. This is a forbidden art set up by the demon race's great sage, Li Wanlong. It's indeed powerful. Zhuge Ye smiled coldly. Now, let's see how miraculous the profound mysteries of the heavenly demon book are. Endless realm. Lu Baiwei waved her hands. The 5 of them worked together and opened the endless realm, bombarding the heavenly demon book. Her cultivation level was no longer what it used to be. With the 5 of them working together, it was still possible to open a crack in the heavenly demon book from the outside. At the instant the endless realm tore open the seal on the heavenly demon book, everyone sent the hatched vermilion bird inside. Following that, Zhuge Ye waved his hand and opened the force field of the soul restriction talisman. Chapter 302. Rumble. In the basin, the hundreds of thousands of barbarians suffered a calamity. The vermilion bird statue that they worshipped day and night suddenly emitted countless flames that landed on the basin like meteors. When the flames touched their bodies, they immediately started to burn, causing them to howl in pain. However, they would not die immediately. Why does our God want to burn us to death? The hundreds of thousands of barbarians rolled on the ground. The flames could not even be extinguished by water, causing them to suffer hellish pain. Their resentment was extremely deep. Ha, burn, howl. Slowly being burned to death, your resentment will become deeper and deeper. The more powerful it will be. All of the burned souls, flesh, blood, and resentment gathered into the vermilion bird statue. An hour later, countless people died in pain. The vermilion bird statue was originally fiery red, but it had now turned black. Kai-Inger formed a spell, and the vermilion bird statue turned into a black beam of light that shot into the distance. Meanwhile, in Gu Chencha's castle, everyone was waiting. As expected, the black beam of light descended and shot into the Book of Heavenly Demon. When Zhuge saw this scene, joy appeared on his face. Now, let's see how Li Wanlong's will is and whether he can turn the world upside down. Just as he finished speaking, endless tremors suddenly erupted from the depths of the Heavenly Demon Book. It was as if a small world was exploding. 10,000 dragons roared, and an earthen yellow light appeared. Many divine beasts roared incessantly, and Hugu's horrified voice could be heard. Buzz, the Book of Heavenly Demon, trembled more and more violently. It was about to fly up and turn into a beam of light to escape. If the Book of Heavenly Demon left, Gu Chensha and the others would lose everything. They would not obtain the vermilion bird egg, and the Book of Heavenly Demon would escape. At this moment, Zhuge Ye patted Jin Suebua's body. 5 beams of starlight appeared in Jin Suebua's body and shot into the sky. He activated the power of the stars, and countless beams of starlight descended, crashing into the Book of Heavenly Demon and sealing it. Zhuge Ye, on the other hand, activated the 7-star profound meaning. In that instant, the profound mysteries of the 7 stars resonated with the 7 stars in the sky. In the daytime, the stars truly appeared, stealing the radiance of the sun and moon. At this moment, a total of 12 stars appeared in the sky, sensing the celestial phenomena. The vastness of this concept was simply unprecedented. No matter where they were, as long as they had a slightly higher cultivation base, they would be able to see the power of the stars falling into Gu Chencha's territory like a heavenly waterfall, making loud rumbling sounds. The area within a radius of several hundred kilometers had become a sea of starlight. This was not something that could be described by ordinary phenomena. What? The Lord of 7 Stars has appeared. In the depths of the wildlands, in the middle of a cluster of lakes, there was a dimension that was made up of boundless starlight. The figure of the Grand Preceptor Wenhong appeared. Wenhong was the first to notice the abnormality. He cultivated the myriad stars flying immortal art, so he was most sensitive to the stars. You could say that no one was more familiar with them than he was. In the blink of an eye, he opened his eyes from within his divine kingdom and saw Gu Chencha's territory. He saw the 12-star profound meanings appear, and in the blink of an eye, the power of the stars became almost tangible. It enveloped the entire territory for hundreds of kilometers, penetrated deep into the earth, and transformed all of the rocks and soil into starstone. He wanted to take action and absorb the 12-star profound meanings, but he suppressed himself. I really have to look at them in a new light. They actually managed to get the Lord of 7 Stars to work for them. If they succeed, the Celestial Calmness Department will truly be a force to be reckoned with. Let's see how they survive this tribulation. Zhuge Ye completely unsealed himself, unleashing the full power of the 7 Stars' profound meanings. He drew upon the stars, gathered their power and broke through the shackles. His cultivation base rose steadily. Gu Chensha watched as his cultivation base rose rapidly. From the 14th transformation, nascent divinity projection, to the 15th transformation, heaven eye emptiness, to the 16th transformation, reincarnation in a corpse, and then the 17th transformation, Tao-splitting divinity. Furthermore, Zhuge Ye didn't just have 3 nascent divinities. He had 7. These 7 nascent divinities constantly absorbed the power of the stars, unleashing boundless explosive power and potential. Gu Chensha had never seen such tyrannical potential. This was someone twice as powerful as Fa Wuxian. As for Zhuge Ye, he waved his hand, and Jin Suebua's 5 stars began to rotate, transforming as they attempted to fuse into his body. However, he had forcibly seized these 5 stars. They were heaven-defying, and if they fused with them, there would be countless disasters. The lightning in the sky transformed, as did yin and yang, all of which surged toward Jin Suebua. Zhuge Ye leveled up in an instant, and his cultivation base increased by more than 10 times. Gu Chen, Sha Lu, Bai Yu, and even the black tortoise baby could sense that invincible power. His power was connected to the 4 of them, and their connate astral energies and nascent divinities were propelled by his nascent divinities. Lu Baiwei seemed to be on the verge of another breakthrough. The 5 of them joined forces and once again suppressed the heavenly demon tome. However, Zhuge Ye's sudden increase in power revealed his position and status. All the experts of the world knew that the Lord of 7 Stars had appeared. This was extremely dangerous. Even the most powerful of existences had to obtain the title of Lord of 7 Stars. Last time, the reincarnated servant boy of the martial song planet had been coveted by countless almighty experts. In the end, the Black Cosmos Gates sect Master Chang Weiyang had kidnapped him. This time, as the Lord of 7 Stars, Zhuge Ye had shaken the world. Rumble! 10 breaths of time later, the world changed color. An enormous hand descended from the east, blotting out the sun and blotting out the sky. It glowed with azure light, carrying with it all the majesty of the world. In the blink of an eye, it was in the air above Gu Chen's feet. Everything within a radius of several hundred kilometers was snatched away by this hand. The power of this hand was enough to grab mountains as if they were nothing. That's the Black Heaven Earth Gates Azure Dragonwood Grand Emperor art. Gu Chen's eyes were filled with rage. He felt an incomparable pressure. What a bunch of thieves! They're clearly looking down on the imperial court. They're openly attacking a prince's residence. How dare they? The power of this hand was enough to shake heaven and earth. It wasn't something that Gu Chensha and the others could stand up to. The Black Heaven Earth Gates sect master was a peerless old-timer. Rumor had it that he had already cultivated to the Tao realm 30 transformations, making him a true god. In addition, the Black Heaven Earth Gate also had a true Azure Dragon sacred beast. The Black Heaven Earth Gate was the number 1 sect of the ancient 72 sections. Its deep reserves were far beyond what ordinary sects could compare to. Many old-timers feared the imperial court and didn't dare to make a move. However, the Black Heaven Earth Gates sect master was throwing caution to the wind. It was clear that he was ready to shed all pretense of cordiality with the imperial court. He was also certain that Grand Emperor Heavenly Talisman wouldn't appear. Of course, the actions of these old-timers were all within the calculations of Gu Chensha, Zhuge Ye, and the others. 7-star profoundness, 5-star profoundness, calamity of heavenly tribulation, Xuanwu transformation. Zhuge Ye suddenly slapped his hand. His 7-star profoundness and Jin Suebua's 5-star profoundness all flew into the Book of Sky Demon. Then, the Book of Sky Demon flew into the sky and violently expanded, smashing towards the palm. The green palm immediately grabbed at the Book of Sky Demon. An unparalleled power broke through the restrictions of the Book of Sky Demon, wanting to grab the 7-star profoundness and 5-star profoundness. But at this moment, the Book of Sky Demon contained the North Star Will and Li Wanlong's will. How could it be so easy for the green palm to grab the 7-star profoundness and 5-star profoundness? Great mighty sky dragon! At this moment, a deep voice came from the west. A giant dragon claw broke through the void and grabbed at the Book of Sky Demon. However, the Book of Sky Demon had already turned into a ball of demonic clouds that covered hundreds of miles. When the dragon claw grabbed it, it seemed to be sucked in. It's the Great Might Dynasty's Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor. Lu Baiwei said, the Black Heaven Earth sect leader, the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor, and Li Wanlong are probably the top 3 old-timers in the world. Use the Death Exemption Talisman and cut off their power. At this moment, Zhuge Ye suddenly said, cut off their power and protect us at the same time. With the help of these 3 powers, we can completely break open the Book of Divine Fei. After this tempering, my 7-star profound meaning can be completely integrated into my body. The Book of Divine Fei can also be used by us. Alright. Gu Qinsha knew that this was the last chance. All his schemes were like this. He took out the death exemption talisman that the heavenly talisman Great Emperor had given him and suddenly used it. The death exemption talisman was his final trump card. Using it now would maximize his benefit. If Gu Qinsha had only been attacked by one of the old-timers, then he would have only been able to save his life and repel the old-timers. But now, Zhuge Ye could become the true Lord of 7 Stars. He could cut off the power of Li Wanlong, the Black Heaven-Earth sect leader, and the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor. He could borrow the power of these 3 peerless old-timers to destroy the Book of the Heavenly Demon and take control of it. Under such a scheme, whether it was Goddess Hu Gu or the ancient divine beast's demon soul, they could only be drawn into it. With the 7-star and 5-star profoundness as bait, these old antiques had no choice but to take the bait. Originally, Zhuge Ye had a series of preparations, but after the appearance of the vermilion bird egg, he changed his plans. The moment the death exemption talisman was taken out, there was no sound, but the world seemed to freeze. Time seemed to stop at this moment. The heavenly talisman Great Emperor's talisman could suppress everything. Not to mention the power of sages, even the power of the heavenly Tao, such as the heavenly sacrifice talisman, would be completely distorted. This huge power first protected Gu Qinsha's fief, then rushed into the Book of Sky Demon. The Book of Sky Demon was filled with endless killing intent. It was also a threat to Gu Qinsha and the others. The power of the death exemption talisman, in addition to protecting oneself and avoiding certain death, also contained the true essence of killing. The majesty of an emperor could not be blasphemed. Chapter 303. The moment the death immunity talisman appeared, Heaven Talisman Emperor's power surged into the sky and shook the entire area. The talisman's power turned into a giant cover that covered 100 miles of land. No matter what kind of power struck it, it was useless. It was pretty much an absolute defense. A portion of the talisman's power charged into the Heaven Monster Book, and screams could be heard from within. It was as if numerous worlds were being destroyed and numerous monsters' souls were being shattered. Furious roars could be heard. Why? Gu Taxian is actually fine. His talisman power is still here, which means that he still exists in the world. Gotcha. The moment this voice was heard, it was destroyed by the talisman power and shattered like an egg. Good, my choice was not wrong. Zhuge Ye nodded his head. If I chose other celestial sects or factions to protect me, it would have been tough for me to pass today. I might have been controlled and refined by others. Only by joining the Heaven Talisman Emperor will I be able to pass this safely. As the power in the Book of Celestial Demons shattered, Zhuge Ye suddenly moved. The profound mysteries of the 7 stars flew out of it again and fused into his primordial spirit. They rotated and gradually fused into one. This process lasted for a long time. During this period of time, Zhuge Ye was in the most danger. If he was captured and refined, he would be able to obtain the 7-star profundities. The other 5-star profundities also flew out. That was Jin Suebua's. The profundities entered the Heaven Monster Book and were refined by many powers. They started to shatter, and this was the best time to refine them. Jin Suebua's body suddenly exploded, transforming into a stream of energy. This stream of energy wrapped around the 5-star profundities, wriggling constantly. Vaguely, one could see the core of the stream of energy, signs of his sea of consciousness spinning. Tao Realm 20 transformations, gathering and dispersing impermanence. Gu Qinsha and Lu Baiyue could tell that Jin Suebua's strength had actually reached such a realm. Jin Suebua himself was extremely powerful. Thinking back to the time when the limitless heavenly sect was destroyed, he was the only one who could escape. If he could fuse a 5th-star profound meaning with it, he would quickly reach the level of an old fogey. Putting him in charge of the Celestial Calmness Department's Immortal Tao would make him an excellent choice. At this moment, Gu Chensha and Liu Baiwei could seize Jin Suebua's 5-star profound meaning and refine it themselves, but they didn't do so. Instead, they guarded Jin Suebua and injected a gust of innate stellar energy into the ball of gas that Jin Suebua had transformed into, helping him refine the 5-star profound meaning quickly. Zhuge Ye kept activating his 7 primordial spirits, borrowing their power to refine them. 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 3 days passed. The Death Protection Talisman's talisman power was still there, enveloping a radius of 100 miles. It did not waver in the slightest. In the past few days, countless powers bombarded the talisman, but it was useless. By now, countless aristocratic families had learned that the Celestial Calmness Department had obtained the Lord of 7 Stars and was currently refining the 7-star profound meaning. Soon, the Lord of 7 Stars would appear. But there was nothing the aristocratic families could do. The Death Protection Talisman's power couldn't penetrate them. Furthermore, the fact that the Death Protection Talisman could still unleash its power meant that Grand Emperor's Celestial Talisman was still alive. No one dared to act rashly. Damn it, I fell for it. Gu Tanjian was in his fiefdom, looking at the Death Protection Talisman's power and starlight. I haven't even prepared how to rob the Lord of 7 Stars yet, and now it's happening ahead of time. I wasted 3 dragon-making pills for this information. We're still useful. At the very least, we planted a pawn in the Celestial Calmness Department. Isn't Bao Ming constantly providing us with information? Mr. Pylon was at Gu Tanjian's side. If we want to fight for the Lord of 7 Stars, we'll have plenty of opportunities in the future. He's a person, not a magical treasure. He can't be completely controlled. But now that he's fused with the 7-star profound, I can't refine him. Even if I capture him and kill him, I won't be able to get the 7-star profound meaning. Gu Tanjian's voice was filled with greed and regret. It doesn't matter. I think that's a good thing. You don't need to absorb the Lord of 7 Stars. As long as you capture him and sacrifice him to the ancestral spirit of the Magi, you can activate the spirit. If he doesn't fuse with the Lord of 7 Stars, it'll be difficult to sacrifice him. That's because the profound mysteries of the stars are separated from the soul, and the power of the sacrifice will be weaker. Now that he's fused with the Lord of 7 Stars, the ancestral spirit of the Magi will reward you with something even better. Capturing the Lord of 7 Stars and sacrificing him isn't that easy. I can't even handle Fa Wuxian right now, let alone the Lord of 7 Stars, who's even stronger. Not to mention the Lord of 7 Stars, who's even stronger than him. Gu's snapping sword was still a bit disappointed. My 3 dragon fortune pills, 3 peerless geniuses. I have to get them back from Bao Ming. The Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor has made his move. Crown Prince, it's best if you don't do anything to Bao Ming. First, she can give us information about the Calming Immortal Department. Second, we can use her to establish a good relationship with the Great Wei Dynasty. Then we can find an opportunity to devour the Empire. Third, we can use her to sell goods to the Great Wei Dynasty. Look, the Calming Immortal Department has been making a lot of money lately. Mr. Pylon was an expert in the art of economics. So what should we do next? If the Calming Immortal Department really does get the Lord of 7 Stars and the Lord of 5 Stars, their power will skyrocket. We'll be at a complete disadvantage, and they'll become a true superpower. Given time, they'll be able to stand toe-to-toe with the Celestial Designer Institution. Gu Tanjian was still very nervous. This time around, there's no other way. Look at the Calm Immortal Department, they even used their final trump card. That's the Death Immunity Talisman of the Heavenly Talisman Immortal Emperor. That thing is practically invincible, there's no way to break it. Also, the Heavenly Talisman Immortal Emperor hasn't disappeared, he's only in seclusion. Mr. Chi said, "I reckon that the might of the death exemption talisman has given many aristocratic families a fright. Even the immortal Tao mystical sects don't dare to act recklessly. The heavenly talisman Great Emperor is still around and we don't know when he will come out. Prince, you'd better be careful." Zhuge Ye, the Lord of 7 Stars, made the right bet. "He really is powerful." Gu Tanjian sighed, his eyes gloomy. "If this person joins my side, I will definitely act according to my plan, devouring him and taking his 7-star profound meaning. No matter which force he joins, he will be in danger. Only by pledging allegiance to the tranquil immortal department will you receive assistance." "Of course the Lord of 7 Stars can weigh the pros and cons," said Mr. Pyrolite helplessly. "Our calculations aren't on the same level as his. It's true that his calculations are profound, but he also has a lot of enemies." A vicious smile appeared on Gu Tanjian's face. "I actually want to pull him under my command. Let's test the waters first." Mr. Pyrolite licked his lips, his expression bloodthirsty. "If the Lord of 7 Stars has appeared, then the Lord of the Sun and Moon won't be far behind. The Lord of the Sun and Moon is the Lord of all the stars. If we work together and sacrifice them, the ancestral shaman spirit will truly awaken and regain control of heaven and earth." The Lord of the Sun and Moon. Gu Tanjian was puzzled. The stars of heaven and earth are revered by the sun and moon. Throughout history there have been reincarnations of the sun, and there have been reincarnations of the moon and moon. However, there has never been a case where the Lord of 7 Stars has appeared. But if the Lord of 7 Stars has appeared, then the Lord of the Sun and Moon will definitely appear as well. They're a pair. According to the legends, when the Lord of 7 Stars and the Lord of the Sun and Moon unite, a supreme existence will be born. Mr. Pyrolite seemed to see an opportunity. Inside the palace. In concubine Ming's palace, Wu Dangkong looked at Gu Chencha's strange phenomenon. Anger appeared on her face. She also knew that she had been tricked. "Gu Taxian is still here. I can't act rashly." She tried her best to endure. "I have the heavenly sacrificial talisman, and I will soon reach the highest level of cultivation. For now, endure, endure, and endure." At that moment, Gu Chensha, Lu Baiwei, and the others ferociously poured their connate energy into the Book of Heavenly Demon. At that moment, many of the restrictive spells within the Book of Heavenly Demon were blasted open. They were crushed by Li Wanlong's will, the palm of the Black Heaven Earth sect leader, and the power of the Black Yellow Dragon Emperor. This was the effect that Gu Chensha and the others wanted. The combined power of these 3 great existences was enough to cause destructive damage to the various restrictive spells within the Book of Heavenly Demon. Moreover, the power of the Death Immunity Talisman surged into the Book of Heavenly Demon, suppressing the power of these 3 antiques. It broke open the Book of Heavenly Demon, and even broke the souls of many divine beasts. Dragon's Gate, absorb. Gu Chensha and Lu Baiwei worked together again. They circulated their own power and expanded the Dragon's Gate to its greatest extent, creating a vortex that seeped into the Book of Heavenly Demon, absorbing whatever was within. Rumble. Much of the pure power within the Book of Heavenly Demon surged into the Dragon's Gate. Gu Chensha and Lu Baiwei felt boundless, majestic power fill the surroundings. The energy within the Book of Heavenly Demon was dissipating. There was Li Wanlong's, the Black Heaven Earth sect leaders, the Black Yellow Dragon Emperors, and the power of many demon souls and the Death Immunity Talisman. This kind of high-level power was the most nourishing. Gu Chencha's Dragon's Gate was fused with the Buzhou Palace, and he needed this huge amount of energy to completely fuse them together. Lord of 7 Stars, complete fusion. At that moment, a huge aura appeared on Zhuge Ye's body. With a shake of his body, his 7 primordial spirits and the 7 stars' profundity fused together, forming a golden core. This golden core was like a star in the sky, hanging high up in the sky. It gave off an ancient power that came from billions of years ago. Zhuge Ye completely fused his soul and the 7 stars' profundity together, forming a golden core. He cultivated the 18 transformations of the Tao realm, the great Tao golden core. Then, he pointed out with a finger, and a huge amount of star energy surged into the book of Heavenly Demon. At this moment, his cultivation was the strongest out of everyone present. One had to know that he was the Lord of 7 stars, and his talent was twice that of Fa Wuxian. What did it mean to cultivate the great Tao golden core? He was probably comparable to some of the old antiques. Jin Suebua, you've also completely absorbed the power of the 5 stars and become the Lord of 5 stars. Your cultivation is profound, so immediately help His Highness form the Dragon's Gate. Gather our strength, and today, while the Death Immunity Talisman's power is dissipating, we'll combine the Buzhou Palace with the Dragon's Gate, and also fuse the Book of Heavenly Demon. The 3 treasures will become one, and it will become a treasure that can shake the world. With this treasure, we won't have to fear the old antiques' attacks. This was also Zhuge Ye's plan. Up until now, the Celestial Tranquility Department didn't have a single treasure that could stop the old antique. Although the Buzhou Palace was also very powerful, it was best at creating treasures. As for the Dragon's Gate, Gu Chunsha had refined it, and it was still a bit lacking. If the 3 treasures combined, it really might be possible to refine a supreme treasure. Moreover, they all had the ability to do so. Zhuge Ye himself had become the true Lord of 7 stars, and had cultivated the great Tao golden core. The black tortoise baby was between the 20 transformations. Zhuge Ye also had this level of cultivation, and Lu Baiwei had also cultivated the great Tao golden core. Even an ordinary cultivator with this level of cultivation would be an important figure in the immortal Tao mystical schools. Moreover, all of them were world-shaking geniuses and natural-born saints. Vermilion bird, come out. Zhuge Ye made another grasping motion, and a little red bird flew out of the Book of Heavenly Demon and perched on Gu Chen's shoulder. This was the vermilion bird that had hatched from the vermilion bird egg. As expected, the vermilion bird egg hatched. Zhuge Ye sighed in admiration. This time, our Celestial Tranquility Department has truly reached its peak. We're no longer a small yamen, and can stand up to the Celestial Designer Institute. Who would have thought that King Chen had cultivated the Son of Heaven's God Seal art? If it weren't for the Helios of Sun-Moon Dragons, the blood of the Sun-Moon Dragons, and the primordial spirits of the Sun-Moon Dragons, this dead vermilion bird egg wouldn't have hatched. Chapter 304. It seems the heavenly Daos have really changed. The celestial talisman, the Arch, is truly invincible. Even the Lord of Myriad Stars can't compare to him, much less the Lord of 7 Stars. Zhuge Ye understood what was going on. Jin Suebua's face was filled with shock. He was now the Lord of 5 Stars and quickly understood what had happened to Gu Chunsha. However, since he knew this, it meant he had truly become the core of the Celestial Calmness Bureau. He was trusted by Gu Chunsha and Lu Baiwei. The vermilion bird has hatched, and its bloodline has fused with King Chen's. King Chen now has the bloodline of the Sun-Moon Dragon, the vermilion bird's fire elemental bloodline, and the black tortoise's water elemental bloodline. Zhuge Ye said, water and fire complement each other. King Chen's cultivation will be boundless in the future. Then let's refine the Sky Demon Tome. The Dragon Gate has almost fused with the Buzhou Palace. As long as we fuse the Sky Demon Tome, we'll have a cornerstone treasure. The black tortoise and vermilion bird can enter to cultivate and control the tome. We can even use the treasure to break through the void. Gu Chunsha urged his Yuan spirit into the Dragon Gate. At this time, the 6 existences activated their power and linked it together. Vermilion bird and black tortoise. Lu Baiwei and Gu Chunsha. Jin Suebua and Zhuge Ye. The 6 existences fused their powers together and sent them into the Dragon's Gate. The immense power from the depths of the Dragon's Gate poured into the depths of Buzhou Palace, causing it to squirm more and more intensely. Suddenly, it transformed into billions of runes. At that moment, the Dragon's Gate also transformed into runes. Countless runes fused together and finally, it transformed into a runic vortex that frantically absorbed the Skyfei book's power. The Yuan Qi in the Sky Demon Tome was in a state of chaos. It happened to be absorbed by the runic vortex formed by the Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace. Gradually, the Sky Demon Tome was also fused into the runic vortex. Under the power of the Death Immunity Talisman, the Sky Demon Book also began to melt, turning into runes. Countless runes turned into space, and each rune was a space. If not for Li Wanlong, the sect leader of the Black Heaven Earth sect, and the Black Yellow Dragon Emperor, the Sky Demon Book might not have been melted. Moreover, the Death Immunity Talisman was added into the mix. Zhuge Ye and the others used all their strength to activate the rune whirlpool formed by Buzhou Palace and Dragon Gate. The combined power of the 6 experts was terrifying. Furthermore, the Buzhou Palace and the Dragon's Gate had absorbed the high-level energy in the Book of Heaven Demon. They had completely fused together and turned into a supreme treasure. This treasure itself was a supreme treasure. As long as one activated it with their primordial spirit, they could even activate the power of space within it. When the 6 experts activated the Buzhou Palace, the profound mysteries of the Buzhou Palace and the Dragon Gate could be unleashed to the fullest. The Buzhou Palace itself was used to balance energy and suppress vital energy. The Dragon Gate was used to absorb and spit out changes, operating endlessly. Gu Chernxia had always wanted to combine them, but it was a pity that he didn't succeed. Now, he finally did it. The 2 great magic treasures were perfectly combined and refined. Mend the heavens, change heaven and earth. Gu Chernxia and Lu Baiwe looked at one another. The common people mend the heaven technique, and the common people mend the heaven technique merged together to mend the flaws of the heavenly Tao and change the fate of the heavenly Tao. They were in opposition, but they complemented one another. The foundations of these 2 great Taoist magics were the Son of Heaven God Seal Art and the Great Massacre God Magic. They were the 2 most powerful techniques in the world, and Gu Chernxia and Lu Baiwe had combined them into magical treasures. At this moment, the Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace's runes swallowed large amounts of high-level energy and started to transform, forming brand new treasures. This treasure didn't look like the Dragon Gate or the Buzhou Palace. Instead, it looked like a ball. Black and white energy flowed within, like chaos. It contained numerous changes, the birth and death of stars, and the changes of living beings. We have finally refined the Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace into a brand new transcendent artifact. It is imbued with both our willpower. Lu Baiwe said, "What do you think we should call this new transcendent artifact?" We made a wish for all living beings in the world. If the heavenly Tao is lacking, common people will mend it. If the heavenly Tao falls, common people will change. Let's call this treasure Common People's Wish. The moment Gu Chernxia said this, it contained his own Tao and essence. The ball changed and gave off all sorts of light. What a good common people's wish. Zhuge Ye bowed towards Gu Chernxia. King really cares about the world. Such ambition, the heavenly Tao can change it. Once this common people's wish is formed and fused into the Book of Heavenly Demon, the 6 of us will activate it. Even the old antiques won't be able to break it. We can protect ourselves. Gu Chernxia circulated the common people's wish sphere, wrapping it around the Book of Heavenly Demon, trying to fuse it. That day, he, the 4th, Lu Baiwe, and the baby black tortoise forcefully opened the Book of Heavenly Demon and were almost absorbed by the Heavenly Demon's black hole. Later, they were stopped by Ant Hu. But today, their cultivation levels had increased a lot, and with Zhuge Ye and Jin Suebua, the Book of Heavenly Demon had been broken by 3 sage-level experts. After breaking it, the power entered the Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace, forming the common people's wish sphere. This sphere's mysteriousness far surpassed the original Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace. The Life's Wish magic treasure was infused with the power of 3 saint-level experts, and the 2 magic treasures were forcibly fused together. Be it Li Wanlong, the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor, or the Black Heaven-Earth Sect Master, their power could easily open up the void, create divine nations, and create things with a flick of their fingers. Their realms were at the sage level, and they could be on par with ancient sages. They even surpassed some gods. The fusion of these 3 powers, coupled with the many shattered demon souls in the Book of Heavenly Demon, and even a power in the center that contained rich earth nomological laws. Gu Chensha, Lu Baiwei, Zhuge Ye, and the others could sense that this earth nomological law belonged to the North Star Empire. The earth nomological law was in the center. Be it the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, or black tortoise, none of them existed. Only the demon progenitor, the North Star Empire, could grasp the earth nomological law. The earth nomological law represented a kind of bearing, a kind of vitality, a kind of reproduction, and a kind of benevolence. Absorb, Book of Heavenly Demon. Everyone activated the power of their essence souls, causing the sphere of common people's wish to unleash even greater power. It was about to envelop the entire Book of Heavenly Demon. However, at this moment, a vast and unmoving aura erupted from the deepest part of the Book of Heavenly Demon. It completely resisted the suction of the sphere of common people's wish. This is the North Star Empire's will. Gu Chensha's expression changed, and Zhuge Ye also revealed a solemn expression. I didn't expect the North Star Empire's will to still be inside, resisting our refinement. Could it be that none of the 3 powers could completely open the core of the Book of Heavenly Demon? Lu Baiwei once again felt that her refinement of the Book of Heavenly Demon was obstructed. Buzz, an aura came from the Book of Heavenly Demon again, and a figure appeared. It was a woman with 9 tails behind her, blooming like a peacock spreading its tail. It was Aunt Hu again. Everyone, you won't be able to refine the Book of Heavenly Demon. The North Star Empire's will is in the deepest part of the core, Aunt Hu said. Aunt Hu. Zhuge Ye spoke up. You know the current situation. Do you really think the Imperial Court can't do anything about the Book of Heavenly Demon? The North Star Empire only has a bit of will and nomological laws in it. It's far from its former strength. He's already fallen, and it'll be extremely difficult for him to recover. Lord of 7 Stars, even if it's as you said, the North Star Empire is currently in a deep slumber, and it'll be difficult for him to recover. You want to take this book? That's the same as robbing us of our lives. How can we comply? I'd rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Aunt Hu looked at Zhuge Ye with fear. Zhuge Ye was now the Lord of 7 Stars. He had completely fused with his primordial spirit, and his cultivation had reached the 18 transformation Great Tao Golden Core level. No one dared to look down on him. His cultivation speed was far faster than anyone could imagine. It wasn't strange for him to advance a level in just a few months. His future achievements would definitely not be inferior to the North Star Empire at its peak. In all of history, the Lord of 7 Stars had only appeared once. Afterwards, she assisted the Son of Heaven in suppressing the Divine Prefecture's #1 fiend. Afterwards, she disappeared without a trace. Now that she had been reborn, she carried with her an unparalleled, invincible destiny. Even Aunt Hu instinctively feared her. We have to refine the Book of Heavenly Demon. Zhuge Ye was extremely unyielding. However, you and the North Star Empire can rely on our calming immortal department. Doesn't the North Star Empire want to recover? Our calming immortal department can definitely help him. How can I trust you? Aunt Hu retorted. As the Lord of 7 Stars, I relied on the calming immortal department and finally succeeded in fusing the mysteries of the 7 stars with my primordial spirit. I became a true innate saint. The calming immortal department did everything in their power to help me, and didn't plot against me at all. Our imperial court is righteous, and our laws govern the changes of heaven and earth. There's no need for your speculations. Zhuge Ye brought up his own example. I said it's possible. As long as we become friends, the calming immortal department will accept you. Our strength can help the North Star Empire recover. You can also see our potential. In 8 or 10 years you can guess how strong we'll be. You've also seen how powerful the Death Exemption Talisman is, and Grand Emperor Heavenly Talisman is still here. We have the support of a powerful force. Zhuge Ye was filled with confidence. As he spoke, his words were filled with an unparalleled grandeur. That was inevitable. The Lord of 7 Stars was just that tyrannical. Fa Wuxian was an innate saint, and Zhuge Ye's talent was twice his. This level of tyranny didn't count for much. "And who, there's nothing you can do to us right now," Gu Qinsha said. "As long as you join us, you'll be a member of the calming immortal department. The imperial court will protect you." And who looked at the lineup in front of her. The vermilion bird, the black tortoise, Gu Qinsha, Lu Baiwei, Jin Suebua, and Zhuge Ye. These existences were all invincible. It was difficult for any profound orthodox sect to produce a single one of them in thousands of years. Now they were all gathered together. After a long time, Antu said, "Since that's the case, I have no choice but to join you. Then you and the North Star Empire will come out of the heavenly demon tome. We'll refine it." Zhuge Ye waved his hand. "That's the only way to show your sincerity. The North Star Empire and I are only left with our consciousnesses. We need the heavenly demon tome's protection. Otherwise, our souls will scatter. If we had divine abilities, we would have left long ago. Why would we be at your mercy?" Chapter 305. Gu Qinsha had long since known that Antu couldn't be trusted, which was why he hadn't agreed to any of her conditions. But now that Zhuge Ye had become the Lord of 7 Stars, he could completely suppress the 9-tailed fox. No matter how powerful Antu was, no matter how many schemes she had, it was impossible for her to plot against the Lord of 7 Stars. "Your Excellency, the Lord of 7 Stars, your calculations are flawless. I trust you." And who knew that relying on the Celestial Pacification Department would be beneficial? After all, Zhuge Ye was an example. Not only had the Lord of 7 Stars not spied on him, but he had even helped him fuse with the 7-star profundities. That was a testament to his righteousness and moral character. If he hadn't plotted against the Lord of 7 Stars, then the heavenly demon tome wasn't worth plotting against. "However, you've resisted the Celestial Pacification Department on numerous occasions," Zhuge Ye said. "Now you need to show some sincerity and help us refine the heavenly demon tome. Refine it into the sphere of common life's will and transform it into a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering magical treasure. I trust that you and the North Star will control a portion of the heavenly demon tome. As long as you don't cause trouble or resist, and help us, you'll definitely succeed. With this treasure, we won't have to fear any attacks from the old-timers. What do you say?" "That's all we can do," sighed Antu. "Don't act like you're on the losing end," said Gu Qinsha. "His Majesty is in seclusion. Many people believe he's disappeared, but that's not the case. Is that right? If he comes out of seclusion and we offer the heavenly demon tome to him, you and the will of the North Star will be annihilated." "All right, let's begin." Zhuge Ye waved his hand. "We need to forge this magic treasure before the power of the immunity talisman disappears. Otherwise, once the power of the talisman disappears, we'll still have to face the old antiques attack." He waved his hands again, sending boundless power into the heavenly demon tome. Antu fell silent. The power of the North Star vanished, and instead began to circulate within the tome. In an instant, the Sky Demon Book transformed into a rune and entered the interior of the Life's Wish sphere. Gu Chunxia immediately saw that the Sky Demon Book's runes were indeed divided into several layers. The outermost layer was formed by the Demon Soul Kingdom, and the innermost layer was a space that seemed to contain many treasures. And in the core space there was an earthen yellow thing. It seemed to be formed from the law of earth, the true meaning of earth. And there are many treasures in the Sky Demon Book. We don't want all of them from you. You have to show some sincerity and help us condense puppets. Lu Baiyue said, Chunxia, you now have 360 heaven-mending divine generals. This is the foundation. We have comprehended the common people mending the heavens and common people reforming the heavens, complementing each other and turning them into brand new divine generals. There are many treasures in the Book of Heavenly Demons, and there are also many demonic souls. We can take this opportunity to refine all 360 heaven-mending divine generals into common people divine generals. Good idea. Mr. Zhuge can calculate for us. Gu Chunxia was overjoyed. Originally, his heaven-mending divine generals had all reached the Dao Realm 12 transformation soul-snatching realm. Now that they were being refined, they merged with Lu Baiyue's will and merged with common people mending the heavens and common people reforming the heavens to become common people god generals. These common people god generals, along with the many treasures and demonic souls in the Book of Heavenly Demons, would definitely be able to refine Dao Realm 14 transformation primordial spirit leaving body puppets. Once these puppets were refined successfully, it would be the same as having 360 talented primordial spirit leaving body realm experts. Honglong. Under Zhuge Ye's control, many treasures and materials flew out from within the Book of Heavenly Demons. These materials were all scattered by the power of the 6 experts. Along with the power of the Buzhou Palace, all the material's essence energy was melted. As expected, within the common people's wish ball, the 360 heaven-mending divine generals scattered and turned into runes. They wriggled and numerous materials merged into them. There were also all sorts of souls and all sorts of powers. Zhuge Ye's current cultivation was simply shocking. With a slight movement, numerous starlight injected into it and nearly turned into a physical form. The vermilion bird and black tortoise activated the fire and water laws while Gu Chunxia and Lu Baiyue activated the secret techniques that they comprehended. Jin Suebois also used his full strength. There were indeed many treasures within the Book of Heavenly Demons. There were some ancient items from the ancient desolate era. These items were all shattered and merged into the heaven-mending divine generals' bodies. Slowly, the 360 heaven-mending divine generals turned into brand new divine generals. All of them actually had 3 heads and 6 arms. They had a vertical eye at the center of their brows and they held 3 pointed, double-edged blades, halberds, bows, arrows, blades, and swords. Several days passed. The 360 heaven-mending divine generals shook and a powerful primordial spirit power was born from their heads. All of them became experts at the primordial spirit leaving body realm. At this moment, the Book of Heavenly Demons had completely fused with the Life's Wish sphere. The orb of common people's wish had already expanded to a radius of tens of miles. It floated in the air above Gu Duxia's feet. Countless starlight shone down. The starlight had completely solidified. It was unknown how much energy had been infused into it. After another full month, the power of the death exemption talisman suddenly dissipated, and the energy barrier that covered the entire fief disappeared. In the instant that the barrier disappeared, many huge hands suddenly came from beyond the sky. However, the sphere of common people's wish that was dozens of miles wide suddenly squirmed and swallowed those huge hands. Next, the sphere rapidly expanded, once again transforming into a barrier of spatial fluctuations, enveloping the entire fief within a radius of several hundred li. Gu Chench's group had finally fused the Dragon's Gate, Buzhou Palace, and the Book of Heavenly Demons together. They had also obtained many treasures and materials from the Book of Heavenly Demons, refining the heaven-mending divine generals into life divine generals. Everyone had benefited greatly. The combined power of several people, along with the Book of Heavenly Demons and the North Star Will, was enough to block the attacks of many of the old-timers. The North Star Will of the Book of Heavenly Demons was also extremely powerful. The Book of Heavenly Demons worked together with the Bujo Palace, and their powerful energies complemented each other. In the blink of an eye, the Book of Heavenly Demons had devoured many of the old-timers' attacks and converted them into its own power. This was the full power of the Celestial Calmness Department. Everyone in the Celestial Calmness Department joined forces, and with the newly refined Life's Wish Sphere, they were able to protect themselves. After the first wave of attacks, nothing happened. No one attacked again. The Death Exemption Talisman had stalled for several months. Many of the old-timers knew that during this time, the Lord of Seven Star had already completely fused with her own power and would no longer be able to wrest away the mysteries of the Seven Stars. But that wasn't the main reason. The true reason was that the Death Exemption Talisman had unleashed its power. Now that Emperor Heavenly Talisman was fine, many of the old-timers didn't dare to attack again for fear that he would casually kill them. Emperor Heavenly Talisman could even suppress a sage with a flip of his hand. Sensing that there was no longer any threat from the old-timers, everyone in their fiefdom sighed in relief. Things had finally settled down. The tension that had been building up over the past few days had finally come to an end. Most of the major powers knew how powerful the Celestial Calmness Department was. The Celestial Calmness Department now had the Lord of Seven Star and the Lord of Five Star. It now had a world-shaking cornerstone treasure. Huff! Gu Chernsha looked up at the sun and let out a long sigh. Now that the Celestial Calmness Department has passed this tribulation, we can truly contend with the Heavenly Designer Institute. No one will ever look down on us again. Suebwa, it'll be much more convenient for you to traverse the path of immortals. Many thanks to the Minister and Mr. Zhuge for your support. Jean Suebwa knelt on one knee. If it weren't for the Minister and Mr. Zhuge, I wouldn't have become the Lord of Five Star. Also, without the Emperor's Death Exemption Talisman, even if I could refine the 5 stars, I would have died from countless tribulations. Jean Suebwa was right. Refining a 5-star profundity into one's nascent spirit would cause quite a commotion. Add to that the fact that he'd forcefully seized the profundity and fused it with all sorts of tribulations, but with the Death Exemption Talisman, both natural and man-made calamities would be spared. No tribulations would invade his body. Unquenchable by 10,000 tribulations. If Emperor Heavenly Talisman said he could avoid death, then even the heavens couldn't do anything to him. Only now did Jean Suebwa realize the Celestial Talisman Emperor's power. No, it couldn't even be described as power. It was a supreme power that could distort all things. If I say you won't die, then you won't die. Jean Suebwa completely understood that following the Celestial Talisman Emperor was his only choice. King Qin, your life's wish has finally been refined. However, it still needs a long time to polish and refine. This treasure has completely fused with the Book of Heavenly Fae and Bujo Palace. It has become a colossal object. Even with so many experts working together, we can only unleash a very small portion of its power. Zhuge Ye sighed. Therefore, I'm afraid you can't bring this treasure with you in the future. There's no way you can activate it. Gu Chernsha circulated his primordial spirit, and sure enough, he discovered that although this newly refined sphere of common people's wish had a strong telepathic connection with him, he felt that his strength was too weak, and he was unable to keep this treasure with him. However, as long as he was in his fief, he could still use many of the treasure's abilities. In other words, he was now empty-handed and had lost a protective treasure. Everyone, let's work together to collect it, Zhuge Ye said. Everyone hurriedly mobilized the power of their nascent spirit. The life's wish sphere in the sky suddenly shrank to the size of a house and fell into the crypt of the fief. None of us can activate this ball by ourselves. It can only be used to protect our land. However, with this ball guarding our land, no matter how powerful the ape tribe and the berserker tribe are, they won't be able to enter our land. Besides, if we train here for 1 year, we'll be able to resist them for several decades. Lu Baiyue could see that this newly refined treasure was really a mountain-guarding treasure. If he wanted to bring it around, he would have to increase his cultivation by several times. Chief, if you go out now, I'm afraid you won't have a treasure to protect you. That's not a good thing, Jean Suebwa said hurriedly. It's fine. I've relied on the dragon sect for a long time, causing my cultivation to lack some training. Actually, with my current cultivation, I can totally kill a Golden Dan Great Dao cultivator. Gu Chensha didn't mind. Back then, with the dragon sect and Buzhou Palace combined, his strength was unparalleled. But now that he didn't have this treasure, he was no weakling. He had comprehended the life mend heaven technique and obtained the heavenly divine light to expand his sea of consciousness and nascent spirit. He had also merged with the profound meaning of the 2 stars of heaven's sin and earth's evil. His own cultivation was already earth-shattering. Now that he didn't have a treasure, he felt relaxed, as though he had removed some kind of burden. This feeling was like when the heaven-offering talisman flew away. Chapter 306. North Star Will is really strong. Since it occupies the core of the Heaven Monster book, we can't do anything to it. Xuanwu Baby said, after all, it has exceeded the 4 beasts and is the ancestor of all monsters. That is just a matter of time. Lu Baiwa looked around. Xuanwu, now you have a partner. Vermilion Bird will play with you. The 2 of you are 1 fire and 1 water. Cultivating with each other will give you the best nourishment. Roar, 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 fun, fun. Xuanwu Baby went to play with Vermilion Bird. Vermilion Bird scoffed and flew up to stand on Xuanwu Baby's head. Xuanwu Baby tried to bite, but Vermilion Bird dodged it. The 2 beasts were having a lot of fun playing. Vermilion Bird and Xuanwu were water and fire opposite. If the 2 beasts crafted treasures, any material could be broken down and refined. Especially metal ores. If Vermilion Bird and Xuanwu refined them, they could produce a metal essence that was even higher than metal essence. The so-called metal essence was equivalent to something close to the laws of metal. Gu Chensha looked at the Vermilion Bird and Black Tortoise babies that were playing around and couldn't help but think, if I find the Azure Dragon baby, the White Tiger baby, and the North Star Will, I will be able to gather all the 5 elemental laws. That way, it will be perfect for refining my common people heaven-mending technique. Since ancient times, no one had gathered all 4 beasts and North Star Will. There are still many things we need to do next. During the past few months, we've been cultivating in this fief. There are many things that the Celestial Calmness Department had to deal with. Now we must do them. Zhuge Ye said. Also, this common people's wish ball needs us to constantly cultivate and familiarize ourselves with it. In the end, it will be made into our own, and we will be able to use it as we please. This matter has to be completed by the 2 ministers because the core will and Tao of common people's wish are the common people's heaven-mending technique and the common people's heaven-reforming technique. I will only assist from the side. We know that. Lu Baiwen nodded her head. The 360 heaven-mending God Generals have turned into common life God Generals. All of them are talented and have reached Tao Realm Transformation 14. This is also thanks to the numerous monster souls and treasures in the Sky Monster Book. Mr. Zhuge just needs to help us raise their cultivation. With so many puppets, it will be extremely difficult to upgrade them, unless you have a large number of souls and mountains of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Zhuge Ye sighed. According to my plan, if we cultivate for another 30 years and completely master the common people's wish sphere, with the power of the Celestial Tranquility Department, we would be able to catch up to the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth. I wonder if they will give us that kind of time? After fusing with the Bougeot Palace and the Book of Heavenly Fae, the Life's Wish Sphere had already become a supreme treasure. However, it was still a half-finished product. This was because the Book of Heavenly Fae had the North Star Will, Ant whose essence soul, and even a few surviving ancient Fae souls hiding in the deepest depths. If they wanted to completely control the common people's wish sphere, unless the North Star Will and Ant whose will left, it would still be a problem. This sphere had to be perfect and flawless. If they worked together, Zhuge Ye estimated that it would take at least 30 years. For cultivators, 30 years was like the blink of an eye, fleeting like the clouds in the eye. But to the world, it was enough to change dynasties. However, to outsiders, these words were simply unbelievable. How long had the Celestial Tranquility Department been established? Just a few years. The Black Gate of Heaven and Earth had been established for tens of thousands of years. It had been established since the primordial era and had gone through many storms. Now that Zhuge Ye said that in 30 years, the Celestial Tranquility Department would be on par with the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth, who would believe him? But thinking about it, it really wasn't impossible. As the Lord of 7 Stars, Zhuge Ye could definitely cultivate to become a sage, and a sage king at that. As for the vermilion bird and the black tortoise, there was no need to even mention them. They were born extremely powerful, and with the passage of time, they would become something no one could compare to. Lu Baiyue and Gu Chencha's progress was even more rapid. Even Zhuge Ye didn't know how far they would grow. Jin Suebuo was already the Lord of 5 Stars and had half the talent to become a sage. In the future, if he was lucky enough, he would most likely become a saint-level expert. Such potential was extremely frightening. Zhuge Ye knew how terrifying this was. To his enemies, the Celestial Tranquility Department would grow stronger with each passing day. If they wanted to deal with them, they had to eliminate them as soon as possible. Otherwise, there would be no end to their troubles. Now that the Death Exemption Talisman had been used, the Celestial Tranquility Department's greatest trump card was gone. The common people's wish sphere was only a half-finished product. Although it could withstand the attacks of some old antiques, it was far from enough to deal with a sage. If the Black Heaven Earth Sect Master, Li Wanlong, and the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor attacked again, the Celestial Tranquility Department would most likely be completely destroyed. Fortunately, the Death Exemption Talisman had resisted for several months. These sages also knew that the Celestial Talisman Emperor was still around and didn't dare to act rashly. One had to know that the Celestial Talisman Emperor was the most important government office of the Imperial Court. If it was destroyed, the Celestial Talisman Emperor could probably kill them at will. Let's cultivate again and consolidate our cultivation. Every bit of improvement counts. Gu Chensha knew that his cultivation was the lowest among these people. He had to hurry up and improve again. At that moment, a starlight talisman suddenly descended from the distance. It was a transmission talisman from the castle. Lu Baiwei grabbed the talisman and understood. Marquis Calming Sea has come to visit us. There's something urgent. Not good. Zhuge Ye's eyebrows flashed fiercely. Marquis Calming Sea's most important task is to guard the bottomless sea of sin in the center of the divine prefecture. The last time the world shook, the seal on the bottomless sea of sin was broken. I read that in the past 2 years, demons have appeared. Now that he has come to see us, it's possible that something big has happened in the bottomless sea of sin and he needs our help. His wisdom was profound and all-knowing, and he almost immediately deduced what was going on. Let's go see him together. Gu Chensha didn't dare to slight Marquis Calming Sea. The 8 great marquises of the Imperial Court were the cornerstones of the Imperial Court. They were unfathomable. Each of them had been personally promoted by the Celestial Talisman Emperor. They were not ordinary people. Zhuge Ye nodded and stood up with the others to meet Marquis Calming Sea in the living room. At this moment, in the depths of the Heavenly Craftsman Institution, a small world was opened by someone using a supreme divine power. In that small world, two old men were playing chess while the other was watching. Of the two people playing chess, one was the Heaven's Craft Institution's Ghost Axe, and the other was the Wu clan's current old ancestor, who had the highest seniority. Last time Ghost Axe had sent a letter to the Wu clan, the Wu clan ancestor had sent Wu Dangkong to the imperial palace and made her imperial concubine. As a result, the Wu clan ancestor had been granted 1,000 years of life. Crack! A chess piece fell into the eye of the chessboard. He had lost the entire game. The Wu clan ancestor put down the chess piece and frowned. Master Ghost Axe is truly formidable. I concede defeat. Old Wu, you must have been thinking about something else, causing you to be distracted. Otherwise, with your cultivation, you wouldn't necessarily be below me in calculating the chess game. Ghost Axe pointed at the void. Were you distracted by the matter of the calming immortal department? I didn't expect the Celestial Calmness Bureau to have the Lord of 7 Stars. At this moment, the Lord of 7 Stars has fused with her primordial spirit and become the true monarch of the stars. Her future achievements are limitless. Furthermore, the Celestial Calmness Bureau borrowed the power of the Death Exemption Talisman, fused with the Black Heaven Earth Gates Sect Master, Li Wanlong, and the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor's attacks, and finally refined the Heavenly Demon Tome into a supreme treasure. The Celestial Calmness Bureau's momentum has been set. In time, your Celestial Craftsman Institution will be suppressed, said the Wu clan ancestor. Old Wu, there's no need to sow discord. We old fellows have lived for so many years. What haven't we seen? Each generation has produced talented people, and they have dominated for hundreds of years. It's time to give way to the younger generation. The Divine Craftsman said, Old Wu, what we need to do now is to see how the younger generation changes the world. Don't interfere with anything else. His Majesty agrees. I'll just wait and see, said the Wu clan ancestor. The Wu clan ancestor said, but the Wu clan and the Celestial Craftsman Institution have a lot of cooperation, so I hope you two can support us. After all, Wu Dangkong is the imperial concubine bright chosen by His Majesty himself. If she comes into conflict with the Celestial Calmness Bureau, which side will the Celestial Craftsman Institution support? Old Wu, you've forgotten again. Of course we won't help either side. This is all His Majesty's plan. We'll just stay out of it and do business. Ghost Axe waved his hand. I advise you not to get involved, Old Wu. Otherwise, when a calamity comes, it will be difficult to continue. Calamity? The Wu clan ancestor was stunned. The Death Exemption Talisman can be used. That means His Majesty is still alive. If His Majesty is still alive, what calamity can befall the world? That's not something you and I can know, said Ghost Axe. The three of us are actually no different from true gods, but we still can't comprehend the mysteries of heaven and earth. Fortunately, His Majesty is ahead, so we just need to follow. There's no need to think too much. Many thanks. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave now. The Wu clan ancestor stood up. Take care. Ghost Axe and Divine Craftsman watched as the Wu clan ancestor tore through the void and left. They couldn't help but shake their heads. Old Craftsman, it seems to me that Old Wu is quite ambitious. He's already reached an agreement with some powerful entities. Ghost Axe frowned. He's obviously come here to probe us and see what we think of the Lord of 7 Stars of the Celestial Calmness Department. The Celestial Calmness Department relied on His Majesty's Death Exemption Talisman to survive the calamity. Now that the Lord of 7 Stars has pledged allegiance to them, they'll be unstoppable. Many of the old fogies won't be able to hold themselves back. Divine Craftsman shook his head. Given our cultivation bases, if we get involved, it won't be easy for us to deal with the consequences. That's right, said Ghost Axe. The Lord of Seven Stars has enormous potential. His sudden appearance was accompanied by an enormous calamity. However, that calamity was neutralized by the death exemption talisman. In the end, though, the calamity will still fall on His Majesty's head. Is His Majesty afraid of a calamity like that? Divine Craftsman guessed. From ancient times until now, a saint's tribulation is a peerless calamity. However, His Majesty can neutralize it with the snap of a finger. Let's see if His Majesty can establish an unprecedented heavenly law. Chapter 307. Reaching the 30 transformations of the Tao realm is actually no different from a god, Shengong said. At the 36 transformations of the Tao realm, embodiment transformation can be called a saint. However, at this level, it's basically impossible to improve unless you encounter a great change in the world. The two of us are only at the 31st and 32nd transformations, so it's difficult for us to step into the saint realm. The three celestial venerables stood out during the great change of the world during the primordial era. They grasped the impossible opportunity and broke the mysteries of the world, leaping out of the three realms and achieving the impossible. The Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor, Li Wanlong, and the Black Heaven-Earth Sect Master are all unparalleled overlords. Who knows how many fortuitous encounters they've had in their lives. They also want to comprehend the supreme secret and jump out of the three realms, Ghost Axe said in deep thought. Apart from that Wen Hong is also someone who can definitely become a saint. Although Fa Wuxian is a junior, he has been trained by the school of legalism. In time, he'll probably be very difficult to deal with. There are many geniuses in the world. I'm afraid we'll really fall behind in the next few decades. That's not necessarily so pessimistic. We're still standing at the peak. As long as we find some fortuitous encounters, we might be able to turn the situation around. Ghost Axe and Godcraft, these two antiques, discussed with each other, their voices gradually becoming inaudible. The Black Heaven-Earth Sect. This was the strongest existence of the 72 mysterious gates of the immortal Tao that had been passed down from the primordial era. After tens of thousands of years there had been many geniuses. Within the mysterious gate there was an earth-shattering treasure, also known as the Black Heaven-Earth Sect. It was rumored that this sect was formed naturally. It was a treasure born from chaos before the heavens and earth had been created. It was filled with endless mysteries. With this sect suppressing fate, the Black Heaven-Earth Sect had existed for an eternity, almost never falling. At that moment, a middle-aged man sat on the steps in front of a huge stone door in the depths of the Black Heaven-Earth Sect. He wore an azure robe, and even his beard was azure. His eyes were dignified, and he seemed to control everything. One look was enough to tell that he was the supreme sect master. Within that gigantic stone door, boundless primal chaos energy flowed. Vaguely, one could make out a gigantic green dragon coiled within, breathing in and out vital energy. It was constantly changing as it absorbed the power of all sorts of dimensions and materialized many magical treasures. In addition, there were many powerful divine generals and heavenly soldiers in the depths of the stone gate, busy with something. Those divine generals and heavenly soldiers had extremely terrifying cultivation bases, each of them releasing a potential as vast as the mountains and as vast as the seas. How could the Black Heaven-Earth Sect's tens of thousands of years of accumulation be child's play? Disciple greets sect leader. Right at this moment, a young man walked in from outside. It was actually Jing Fanxing. When he arrived, he knelt on both knees and kowtowed deeply, performing the proper etiquette. Jing Fanxing, do you know your crimes? The sect leader's voice was indistinct and unfathomable. This disciple knows his mistake. Jing Fanqing knelt down and kowtowed repeatedly. What crime have you committed? The headmaster asked. Disciple was humiliated and captured alive by the Celestial Calmness Department, causing the sect to lose face. It's an extraordinary humiliation, and even death is unable to atone for my crimes. The hatred in Jing Fanqing's tone simply shot through the sky and covered the stars. It's good that you know. As an outstanding disciple of our sect, you have cultivated to the golden core of the great Tao. You can be considered a core member of our sect. Our sect has been in charge of the immortal Tao for tens of thousands of years. Now that this kind of humiliation has spread throughout the immortal Tao, how can you still have the face to give orders? The sect leader asked, Let me ask you, how are you going to wash away this humiliation? Kill. First kill the people of the Celestial Calmness Department, then kill the people of the Imperial Court, and then kill that Gutaxian. Jing Fanqing repeated the word kill several times, his willpower unshakable. Only with such willpower can you be considered a disciple of the Black Heaven Earth sect. However, given your current level of cultivation, going to the Celestial Calmness Department is just suicide. Do you know the latest news about the Celestial Calmness Department? Asked the sect leader. The Celestial Calmness Department actually recruited the Lord of Seven Stars and helped him fuse with the profound mysteries of the Seven Stars. Even the sect leader intervened. Jing Fanqing was someone who had reached the golden core of the great Tao, and was considered an outstanding talent in the immortal Tao. He knew much more than ordinary cultivators. When he mentioned the Lord of Seven Stars, his expression was filled with dread. Are you afraid? Asked the sect leader, taking in Jing Fanqing's emotions. Disciple isn't afraid. Jing Fanqing's hatred surged once more. Very good. The sect leader nodded. Your potential isn't limited to just this. You are an unparalleled genius. Logically speaking, mid-grade talent can become a grandmaster of martial arts, while high-grade talent can reach the fifth Tao transformation. Geniuses can reach the golden core of the great Tao at most. Unparalleled geniuses can reach the 27th transformation. If you can use all of your potential and cultivate painstakingly for hundreds of years, you can reach the 20th transformation. At that point, you aren't far from being a god. At that point, it won't be difficult for you to cause chaos. Right now, your cultivation base at the 18th transformation is just child's play. Disciple is willing to cultivate painstakingly, said Jing Fanqing hurriedly. Very well. Azure Dragon, shouted the sect leader. The enormous azure dragon poked its head out of the ancient stone door and stared coldly at Jing Fanqing. Then it opened its mouth, and in the blink of an eye, countless talismans entered Jing Fanqing's body. Jing Fanqing's sea of consciousness and dantian rapidly expanded. Crackling sounds could be heard throughout his body as he underwent yet another transformation. This is a Wood Emperor Divine Talisman that the Azure Dragon spent thousands of years refining. It can help you increase your cultivation base. After you absorb it, enter the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth to cultivate. The Black Gate of Heaven and Earth has the power to twist space and time. One day of cultivation is equivalent to several years of cultivation. But you must remember that even if you cultivate the golden core of the great Tao, you only have 1,000 years of lifespan. You can't cultivate for too long in the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth, otherwise your lifespan will run out and no one will be able to save you. The sect leader knew about the drawbacks. Yes. Jing Fanqing was delighted deep down. After you come out, your cultivation will reach the 21st transformation of the Tao realm and your body will transform into the 5 elements. At that time, you will be able to do many things. But the most important thing for you now isn't to deal with the calm celestial department, but to get something from Wu Dankong. The sect leader spoke. Sect leader, please instruct me. Jing Fanqing didn't dare to get up and continued to kneel. Wu Dankong seems to have obtained a supreme treasure. Bring it here, the sect leader said. Yes. Jing Fanqing didn't dare to ask more. The sect leader waved his hand and teleported Jing Fanqing into the black gate of heaven and earth. The giant azure dragon's head didn't shrink back. Instead, it let out a buzzing sound. If my guess is correct, that Wu Dangkong should have obtained the heaven sacrificial talisman. This is the will of the heavens. If you want to take the talisman over, you will probably suffer the backlash of the heavenly Tao. Azure Dragon, you are confused. Now that the heavenly Tao is suppressed by Gu Taxian, there are variables. We can steal some things. The heaven sacrificial talisman is the key to peek into the supreme heavenly Tao. If we obtain it, we don't need to sacrifice it. I have a way to use it to help me break through and become an existence that surpasses the three celestial venerables. The sect leader spoke softly. Compared to the heaven sacrificial talisman, I want the Gochin will in the book of heavenly demon. The azure dragon shrank his head back. Although this Jing Fanqing is an unparalleled genius, his eyes are blinded by hatred. His achievements won't be too high. Do we really need to waste resources to nurture him? He's just a pawn, the sect leader said. Only a pawn like him can get close to Wu Dangkong and learn his secret. Given our statuses, are we really going to rob him? The sect leader continued. Gu Taxian used a talisman to completely nullify our attacks, allowing the Lord of 7 Stars to ascend. From now on, those juniors will be able to turn heaven and earth upside down. Should we deal with those juniors? The azure dragon's voice came from the door. No need. We need someone else to make the first move. For example, Li Wanlong or the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor. If we make a move on the juniors, we'll provoke the seniors. It's not a wise move, the sect leader said. However, that magical treasure of theirs is quite miraculous. The Book of Heavenly Demon, the Buzhou Palace, the Dragonization Pagoda, and countless other treasures combine to form a magical treasure. The azure dragon let out a buzzing sound. In the battle of the primordial era, the heavenly sect of heaven and earth has damaged some fundamental things. If you can obtain that magic treasure as compensation, you can recover to your peak state. At that time, you can also suppress the profound sect of the universe. The profound gate of the universe. The sect leader's eyes flickered with killing intent and coldness. Within Gu Chencha's fiefdom, in the guest hall, the entire guest hall had been constructed from special materials. It constantly glowed with starlight. Every inch of the ground and every inch of the walls was as exquisite as jade. It was as if a vast starry sky was sealed within the jade. In truth, the ground within 50 kilometers of Gu Chencha's castle had been transformed into this kind of starry jade. This was the result of the birth of the Lord of 7 Stars. Countless stars had descended to refine the earth and walls. Star jade was extremely precious among jade stones. It required an extremely high-quality jade stone that, over billions of years, would constantly absorb the power of the stars and nurture meridians within it. Only then could the image of a vast starry sky be formed within it. In the immortal Tao, a thumb-sized piece of starry jade could be exchanged for over 100 spirit-cleansing pills. The spirit-cleansing pill was a medicinal pill concocted by the profound gate of heaven and earth. It was refined using the essence of spirit herbs and spiritual energy. Just one pill could quickly restore one's Xiantian astral energy. In the immortal Tao, it was practically a hard currency. Gu Chensha had stolen quite a few spirit-cleansing pills from the chaotic demonic ape temple. They were still stored in the storehouse. This place has truly become a holy land. Marquis Comingsi sipped his tea, then turned to Gu Chensha, Lu Baiwei, and Zhuge. The Lord of 7 Stars has appeared out of nowhere. It seems that the rise of the Celestial Pacification Department is unstoppable. This is a blessing for the Empire, and a blessing for the common people. Marquis, you flatter me, said Zhuge, cupping his hands. This time, it was all thanks to the Emperor's strength, as well as the strength and karmic luck of the princes and princesses. In the future, I will definitely spare no effort until my death. Chapter 308. Is there something wrong with the bottomless sea of sin? Zhuge Ye held the feather fan in his hand and said, "The bottomless sea of sin is actually the place where the most ferocious man in the divine land fought against Gu Tianzi. He used his supreme skill to break through the endless void and summon the demons from the alien land. Logically speaking, I should go to the gap. But now we have just refined the magic weapon and lack manpower to suppress it. If we leave and the magic weapon is taken away, I'm afraid our foundation will be greatly damaged." Marquis Zhenhai cupped his hands and said, "Master, you really have a good plan. I know why I came here. There is a big problem in the bottomless sea of sin. Because I have to guard the sea, it is difficult for me to take care of both sides, so I came to ask for your help. The current situation is very dangerous. Some of the gaps in the bottomless sea of sin have been filled with demons. If they rush out of the seal, the center will explode, and the whole divine land will be shaken. In addition, the Emperor is still in closed-door training and people's hearts are uncertain, so I have to ask for your help. The current situation is that the barbarian tribe and the demon tribe are gathering near the fief. Lu Baiwe analyzed, they will attack at any time, so we can't leave easily. But we can also divide our strength. Why don't I go there?" "No." Gu Chensha waved his hand and said, "I'll go there. Our strength should not be too scattered now. The most important thing is that the common people's wish sphere must be guarded. Mr. Zhuge, Baiwe, Suebwa, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise, don't move for the time being. Refining the sphere is the foundation and can't be shaken. My cultivation can also be tempered. Besides, when the demons appear, I can collect their souls and condense various magic weapons. This time I came here mainly to cooperate with you. I hope you can make a batch of weapons that can destroy evil. The power of stars is the best to destroy evil. If the soldiers can have an evil-destroying sword, it will be much easier to deal with the demons," Marquis Zhenhai said. "That's easy." Zhuge Ye suddenly made a grabbing motion, and an ordinary dark steel saber flew over from a warehouse in the distance. Then, with a spell, the power of the stars descended from the sky and gathered on the saber. The saber instantly became agile, and a vast starry sky seemed to be brewing within the saber. It was extremely beautiful and deep, and a tranquil and distant aura was emitted from the saber. The most annoying thing in the bottomless sea of sin is the devil chi. As long as the devil chi is inhaled into the human body, people will completely lose their mind. They will go crazy and attack the living. They will become the walking dead and demonized puppet. However, I will use the power of the stars to refine weapons and set up the evil and God-suppressing town on them. As long as they carry weapons, they can protect themselves from being eroded by the devil chi. He displayed a world-shaking divine ability. Don't worry, Marquis. My calming immortal department has taken control of Buzhou Palace and can already unleash all of its power. Creating weapons is nothing difficult. If that's the case, then I'm at ease. With the Lord of 7 Stars and such a treasure, they really can turn something rotten into something magical. Marquis Kangxi was secretly shocked. Although his realm was higher than Zhuge Ye's, if they really fought, he was no match for this person. There's no time to lose. Marquis, I'll go with you to the bottomless sea of sin. Gu Chensha stood up. Although he had helped Zhuge Ye get through the tribulation, in reality, he had also comprehended many things. After all, the Divine Demon Book, Dragon Gate, and Buzhou Palace were all his treasures. The common people's wish sphere was also based on his Tao core. Ever since he had refined the profound meaning of the stars, his talent had increased again. His primordial spirit was full, and after several months of hard work, his treasures had transformed. He had almost comprehended more things from the common people heaven-mending technique. His cultivation was already ready to move. Soon, he would step into the 15th transformation of the Tao realm, the heavenly eye-suspending realm. Right now, he needed to temper himself. That's good. Be careful. If there are any problems, contact us immediately. With our speed, we can head to Xin province quickly and provide support. Lu Baiwa thought about it and could only agree. She also understood that the foundation of the entire calming celestial department was the common people's wish sphere. This treasure had to be protected at all times. Her cultivation was at the 18th transformation of the Tao realm, so was Zhuge Ye. Jean Suebo was at the 20th transformation. The black tortoise baby was also at the 20th transformation. The vermilion bird had just hatched and wasn't strong, but it was at the 14th or 15th transformation. All of them combined their strength, along with the 360 common people's god generals, were barely able to activate the common people's wish sphere. If a few of them were missing, the treasure wouldn't be able to be activated at all. If it was taken away, all of the calming celestial department's savings would be gone, and they would lose 99% of their foundation. What the calming celestial department lacked the most was time. In another 8 to 10 years, Zhuge Ye would definitely be able to cultivate to the 30th transformation of the Tao realm. He would be close to a god, and his combat strength would increase by more than 100 times. He wouldn't need to fear anyone anymore. The Lord of Seven Stars' cultivation speed was just that fast. In a bit, I'll send someone over to discuss the creation of weapons and armor with you. Marquis Calming Si flew up. Gu Chunsha flew up as well. The two of them were as fast as lightning, and in just a few dozen breaths they were thousands of miles away. Marquis Calming Si's cultivation is so strong. He's actually reached the 21st transformation of the Tao realm, transforming into the 5 element. As Gu Chunsha flew, he saw Marquis Calming Si casually flash about. His body seemed to have the 5 elements circulating endlessly. From this, he knew that this person's cultivation was really high. The 21st transformation into the 5 elements, in essence, didn't belong to a human. It wasn't flesh and blood at all, but a strange kind of energy. Marquis Calming Si clicked his tongue in wonder. Gu Chensha's cultivation was only at the 14th transformation, but he was actually able to keep up with his speed. It wouldn't be strange if he used a Dharma treasure, but right now, Gu Chunsha was using his own strength. He didn't have any Dharma treasures at all. In truth, Gu Chunsha had already refined all of his Dharma treasures into the Dragon's Gate. Now, the Dragon's Gate Buzhou Palace and the Sky Demon Tome had transformed into the common people's wish sphere. He was completely clean, without a single Dharma treasure. In the past, when he used the Dragon's Gate, he could come and go without a trace. His speed was fleeting, and he could travel thousands of miles in an instant. Now that he'd lost the support of the Dragon's Gate's massive stellar energy, he could only use his own strength. Naturally, he was much slower. But this way, he could sense the profundities of some small tricks, such as how to conserve stellar energy while flying, how to adjust his primordial spirit, how to calculate the circulation of stellar energy, how to resonate with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and how to accumulate and transform power in the depths of his dantian. The 19th Prince's Gangqi is really vigorous. I don't think the Gangqi stored in other people's dantian's sea of qi and acupoints is even a tenth of his. Marquis Calming Si secretly observed and came to a conclusion. Cultivators of the same realm, be it primordial spirit or stellar energy, were definitely far from Gu Chensha's. His physical body was the sun-moon dragon body, comparable to a saint beast. Apart from that, he had undergone many baptisms and refinement. Although he wasn't as strong as Zhuge Ye and Fa Wuxian, he was still a top-notch existence among the younger generation of Xian Dao sect. However, he wasn't satisfied with such a situation. He wanted to go one step further and expand his sea of consciousness and energy, as well as all the acupoints in his body. Right now, the primordial spirit in his sea of consciousness was multitasking. After Zhuge Ye became the Lord of 7 Stars, he would probably be able to multitask 1,000,000 times, or even millions of times. People of the same realm wouldn't be able to compare at all. The stronger the primordial spirit, the faster it could absorb spiritual energy, and the faster it could recover stellar energy. Primordial spirit was the foundation of everything. With Gu Chencha's current strength, he didn't need to rely on any Dharma treasures to kill Tao Realm 18 Transformations Golden Core expert. In terms of primordial spirit, Marquis Calming Sea probably couldn't multitask 100 times. After flying for half a day, Marquis Calming Sea pointed at the mountains and rivers below. "Your Highness, we've arrived at Sin Province." Gu Chencha's eyes had long since looked down. The entire Sin Province was faintly covered in a layer of gray. Even the sunlight was dim, and a heavy aura weighed down on everyone's hearts. In the center of Sin Province was a basin with a circumference of 3,000 miles. This basin had originally been an ocean, the bottomless sea of Sin. However, Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor had shaved off 1,000 mountains around it and stuffed them into the Sea of Sin to fill in the gap. This was the story of shaving off 1,000 mountains to fill in the Sea of Sin. But now the 3,000-mile basin was filled with black gas. Demonic chi constantly emerged, and it seemed that many holes had appeared. Gu Chensha looked over and found that in the crevices in the depths of the basin, there were some strange demons flickering. For example, there were demons with goat heads and scales all over their bodies. There were also blood-sucking demons that looked like giant bat. There were also ox demons that had the body of an ox but walked upright. These were all bloodthirsty monsters that lived in some alternate dimension. They had crawled out of the cracks. After Gu Chensha learned the Great Massacre God technique, he knew that the whole world had endless dimensions and different levels. Many dimensions had different attributes. For example, the spiritual energy realm was a flat world filled with pure spiritual chi. People couldn't enter it. In addition, there were some dimensions that gathered countless negative auras, which were demonic chi. They bred bloodthirsty, crazy, and chaotic creatures, which were demons. In history, there were even cases where demonic chi from some dimensions seeped into the spiritual energy realm. Then, when cultivators absorbed the spiritual chi and were contaminated by the demonic chi, they all became demons. This was a real catastrophe. Demons have indeed appeared. Gu Chensha wasn't worried. Instead, he was happy. "Your Highness, don't worry. These demons are just here to deliver food. I cultivate puppets and happen to need souls. These demons are exactly what I need. I know that Your Highness has mastered all kinds of secret techniques in the Book of Heavenly Demons. This book has magical effects on dealing with demons." Marquis Calming Sea descended. "There must be a master here. Recently, the masters of the Great Wei dynasty have been active on the sea. I'm afraid they will attack the overseas countries, especially the Baoyu nation. I must personally stay on the sea. I hope Your Highness can control the situation in the Sea of Sin. The Great Wei dynasty really won't let go of the Baoyu nation." Gu Chensha was shocked. The Baoyu nation had a deep relationship with him. He couldn't let the Great Wei dynasty have their way. Years ago, he captured Gu Hua and took his Jindan and magic weapon. It had been a long time, and this Gu Hua would definitely make a comeback. Chapter 309. The two of them landed. When they were in the sky, Gu Chensha felt that some of the demonic energy in the air started to invade his consciousness after he inhaled it. Fortunately, since his consciousness rose to the 13th transformation, demon swallowing and ghost eating, there was a pure yang intent true fire that could refine all kinds of spiritual intents to strengthen himself. He just needed to use it slightly to refine the demonic energy. He wasn't afraid of the demonic energy, but that didn't mean that the soldiers weren't either. It was inevitable that the army guarding the border of Sin province would fall into the demonic path. Marquis Zhenhai had no choice, so he came to find Comingxian. His cultivation was unfathomable, being at the 21st transformation of Tao realm. He was already an antique in Xuanzong's celestial sect, but compared to Comingxian, he was still weaker. A person at the 21st transformation could become a pillar of the court. Such a person was a barbarian emperor in the barbarian race, and was rare in Xuanzong's celestial sect. Many military fortresses were built around the bottomless sea of Sin, but the soldiers were slowly retreating to prevent being contaminated by the demonic energy. Some of the fortresses were empty. Only a small number of experts were left here. Gu Chunsha and Marquis Zhenhai landed on a main fortress. This fortress was built into a giant city. It was dozens of miles wide and was built with giant stones. There were many talismans carved on the giant stones that shone brightly. Some demonic energy was blocked by the light and couldn't get close to the city. There were thousands of soldiers stationed in the city, all of them wearing horned dragon armor. There were some talismans on the armor that could block the invasion of demonic energy. These were obviously done by Marquis Zhenhai. Greetings, Marquis. Just as Marquis Zhenhai landed, there were already a few experts waiting on the high platform on the city wall. This is King Chen. From now on, he will be leading you to suppress the demonic disaster. Marquis Zhenhai introduced. Marquis, these are my subordinates. Gu Chunsha looked over and noticed that there were 13 people here. 2 of them were actually at the 9th transformation of Tao Realm Glass Jade Body. They were all geniuses. As for the other 10, 4 were at the 6th or 7th transformation, while the rest were at the 4th or 5th transformation. This was not a small amount of power. Gu Chunsha was secretly shocked. Greetings, Marquis. The 13 experts were swift and decisive. They knelt down on one knee and shouted, "No need to be so polite. Get up." Gu Chunsha waved his hand. The most important thing now is to suppress the devil chi here and prevent it from leaking. As he spoke, he used the power of the 9 heaven stars. ZZZ, a sphere of dazzling starlight descended from the sky. In the end, it turned into thousands of symbols, engraving themselves on the 13 experts' armors. Your Highness, Marquis. Your Highness, good move. Marquis Comingxi praised, absorbing the power of the stars so quickly. I'll add another layer of defense to this city. Thousands of innate astral energies appeared above Gu Chencha's head. These astral energies turned into a huge whirlpool, constantly absorbing the power of the stars. After a full hour, they suddenly dispersed, turning into a rain of stars that rained down on the entire battle fort. The Qi, the star energy, were. The dragon star, the sea when it the clan were. Your Highness's methods are so exquisite, I am completely relieved. The Marquis of Comingxi was very happy. There is an urgent military situation at sea, I can't stay here. Don't worry, Marquis. The safety of the nations on the sea and Baoyu Nation will depend on Marquis. Gu Chunsha cupped his hands. Marquis Zhenhai nodded. His body turned into a cloud of smoke and soared straight into the sky, disappearing in an instant. His speed was 10 times faster than when he came. Gu Chunsha nodded to himself. 21 transformations into the 5 elements was indeed powerful. Your Highness, what orders do you have for me? We will risk our lives for you, the leading general said again when he saw Marquis Comingxi had left. Gu Chunsha asked, What are your names? This general is Shiman Zhua, and this is my brother Shiman Yu. The 2 generals introduced the others one by one. Shiman clan is also a prestigious clan. It has been passed down for several thousand years. Since the 2 of you are willing to serve the imperial court, it can also be considered as serving the country and the people. Gu Chunsha said a few comforting words, then turned his gaze to the distance. This fortress was built on the edge of a cliff, and under the cliff was the bottomless sea of sin. The cliff was thousands of feet high, and there was basically no way to go down. Below the cliff was a vast plain of 3,000 miles. The plain was covered with weeds, which were as tall as a few people. They were densely packed, and no one knew how many monsters were hidden in them. The weeds were not ordinary plants. They were like swords, shaped like thatch leaves, and seemed to be highly poisonous. Obviously, they were spawned by devil chi, or they were plants derived from another world. If it were not for the cliff, many monsters would have rushed up and wandered around to kill and eat people. This was also a barrier created by the heavenly talisman Great Emperor. After filling and sealing the bottomless sea of sin, it was compressed into a huge basin. The basin had no exit, and it was surrounded by cliffs. It was a natural prison to prevent monsters from escaping. Of course, there were also monsters that could fly, but most of them could not. Your Highness, a few days ago, a few more seals broke, and the monsters became stronger. Some of them flew up and left, but they were killed by Lord Marquis. I don't know how many devils have gathered in the 3,000 miles of the basin. I'm afraid that one day they will suddenly erupt and drown us. The Shiman brothers looked down with solemn expressions. It's fine. Gu Chensha waved his hand. The two of you follow me down. Yes. The two didn't hesitate. Whoosh. Without making a sound, Gu Chensha's body fell down the cliff. The Shiman brothers immediately followed. In an instant, the three of them fell into the deep grassland below the cliff. The demonic grass that was several people tall emitted a fishy smell. It was like the rotting corpses in hell. The moment Gu Chensha landed, he saw 7 or 8 goat-horned monsters hiding in the grass. These goat-horned monsters had goat heads and human bodies, and were covered in scales. They were holding pitchforks made of unknown materials. The pitchforks were dripping with blood, and it was also stained with the blood of another kind of ox-headed monster. Fiend monsters were also fighting and killing each other. Gu Chensha had read ancient records and knew that a large-scale attack by monsters had occurred during the era of martial emperors. There were many monsters, such as sheep-headed monsters, ox-headed monsters, hawk-headed monsters, bat-headed monsters. These monsters were all recorded in detail in the ancient record. The goat-headed monsters were really strong and had iron bones. They also knew how to cultivate and had martial technique. Normal goat-headed monsters were similar to martial masters. They were at Mortal Realm Stage 3 and were really tough to deal with. Pring 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 ping. Gu Chensha flicked his fingers, and these goat-headed monsters were instantly controlled. They were like walking corpses as they laid in the grass and didn't move at all. This was the 12th transformation of Dao Realm, Soul Stealing. The Shiman brothers took a look and were really envious. They were at Dao Realm 9 transformation. They had to cultivate really hard before they could step into the 10th transformation, much less the 12th. Although the two of them were geniuses, their cultivation environment was far from that of the people under Gu Chensha. In Gu Chensha's land, in the depths of the Xuanwu nest, they had numerous resources, pills, supreme cultivation techniques, and experts to teach them. This was not something that Marquis Zhenhai's subordinates could compare to. What does King want to do? Shiman Zhua asked. These monsters are the best crafting materials for me. I want to get rid of them once and for all. Gu Chensha took out a fist-sized seed. This seed was as red as blood, and it looked like a heart that was wriggling. This is the seed of the blood-sucking demon vine? Shiman Zhua recognized it. It is a demon vine in the wilderness. When it grows, it can wrap around living beings and suck their blood. Does King want to use it to deal with these monsters? Unfortunately, although it sounds terrifying, that is only to normal martial artists. Its vines are easily sliced off. When the blood-sucking demon vine grew, it was like a tree. The vines were like arms that wrapped around living beings. Even martial masters wouldn't be able to escape. But as long as one stepped into Dao Realm, one would be able to deal with the vines. The blood-sucking demon vine seed was a spiritual herb and was really valuable. But it was useless against demons. This is the seed of the blood-sucking demon vine. I specially brought it over. Gu Chunxia buried the seed in the ground and then activated his body's energy. The seed suddenly sprouted and grew into a small sapling. The vines were like long whips. They suddenly stabbed into the bodies of the few sheephead monsters. Gulong, gulong. A sound like that of a cow drinking water spread out. In just a short while, the vines sucked the few sheephead monsters dry. The souls of these few sheephead monsters are gone? This blood-sucking demon vine? The two shaman brothers were shocked to discover that the blood-sucking demon vine seemed different. Could actually absorb souls. I used the sky demon mystic technique to refine the blood-sucking demon vine seed. It can evolve into a 7-colored demon vine, and one step further would be the ghostly god touch, and one step further would be the sky demon tree. With so many monsters as fertilizer, along with my sky demon mystic technique and the supreme Tao of the stars, it will definitely become a sapling of the sky demon tree. Once the tree is formed, it will be able to continuously absorb demonic energy and monsters to grow on its own. Moreover, the sky demon tree will bear many fruit. Those fruits can nourish essence energy and can even form all sorts of demon soldiers and demon generals. Gu Chunxia naturally came prepared. He didn't have any Dharma treasures on him and was about to refine one. Thus, he thought of the sky demon tree in the Book of Sky Demon. The Book of Sky Demon had many methods to refine Dharma treasures, but it was very difficult. Some even involved the transformation of space. Furthermore, any Dharma treasure had to be refined over a long period of time. Some Dharma treasures even required dozens of generations of a sect to refine for thousands of years. Gu Chenxia's Dragon Gate was opportunistic. He had fused many Dharma treasures together, coupled with the power of the Son of Heaven's God bestowment art and the Great Massacre God art, as well as the power of the heavenly Tao of the sacrificial talisman. Even so, now that it had condensed into the common people's wish sphere, it would require a long period of tempering. Finally, it could be called a true Dharma treasure. Otherwise, it would just be miscellaneous items pieced together from many Dharma treasures. As for the sky demon tree, it was relatively easy to refine. It was something that could grow on its own, but refining it required a large amount of souls and blood. It was too harmful to the harmony of the heavens. In ancient times, a great demon had sacrificed countless lives to refine this tree. In the end, people from the righteous Tao came to slay the demon. However, now that Gu Chunxia was using these monsters to feed the tree, there were no obstacles. The refinement method of the sky demon tree had long been lost. Furthermore, the first step was rather difficult. First, one had to find a blood-sucking demon vine seed and use a mystic technique to activate it, changing its structure and life essence to refine it into a sky demon tree. Chapter 310. These 7 or 8 goat-headed fiends had vigorous blood essence and powerful souls. Each of them was equivalent to the 3rd level of the mortal realm, martial arts masters. Fiends were also intelligent creatures, but they were bloodthirsty and murderous. The demonic chi on their bodies corroded their brains, causing them to be rather chaotic. Rumor had it that they were a type of low-level fiend in hell. Hell was a general term for the dimensions filled with demonic chi. The creatures inside would be corroded by demonic chi and grow into ugly and brutal fiends that loved to destroy everything. Sometimes, due to some special changes in heaven and earth, a passage would appear between these dimensions and the main dimension of the land of infinity. The fiends inside would then come to the land of infinity. In ancient times, there was a great war between the gods and many passageways were broken through. The fiends descended and caused a lot of trouble. Later on, rumor had it that an invincible expert suppressed those demonic chi dimensions and was conferred the title of King of Hell by the ancient emperor. This expert was now called God Ma. Gu Chencha's subordinate, Yi Ming, was one of the emissaries of the Temple of Ma. He had also learned the methods of the Maha suppression scripture. God Maha was the king of hell and the king of the evil gods. Rumor had it that he was also the strongest existence among the righteous and evil gods. He was now in charge of many dimensions filled with demonic chi, which were also the various hells. However, this god was sealed by the heavenly talisman emperor. The Maha suppression scripture also recorded many vicious demonic arts and the characteristics of the various fiends in hell. Of course, Yi Ming's Maha suppression scripture was only a small part of it. The real demonic scripture was as vast as the sea. Although it wasn't as good as the heavenly talisman tome, it wasn't something that 1 or 2 books could contain. Gu Chensha was proficient in the immortal Tao, demon Tao, fiend Tao, divine Tao, and various secret arts. Naturally, it was a piece of cake for him to deal with demonic chi and fiends. The seal of the bottomless sea of sin broke and many fiends appeared. Gu Chensha took this opportunity to cultivate. The vampiric devil vine grew from the ground and grew into a sapling that was half the height of a person. It was blood-colored and had 7 tentacles that constantly swayed. It looked demonic and bloody. Gu Chensha circulated his astral energy and poured it into the demonic vine. He suddenly circulated the sky demon's secret art, and his astral energy turned into many runes that transformed into demonic chi that helped the demonic vine digest the sheep-headed devil monster's essence, blood, and soul. The vampiric demon vines were not omnipotent in the beginning. Even an ancient vampiric demon vine that had lived for hundreds of years would need several months to digest after absorbing so much blood. It would not be able to absorb any more blood. Moreover, the most important thing was not to digest the blood essence, but to refine the soul. This required Gu Chencha's assistance. The growth of the heavenly demon tree was also a process of refining Dharma treasures. Although Gu Chencha's supernatural power was strong, and although his mana was high, he couldn't achieve it in one go. He needed the patience and effort of dripping water to wear through a stone. He wanted to use the blood essence and soul absorbed by the vampiric demon vine to fuse with the sky demon mystic technique to change the life essence of the vampiric demon vine and make it evolve even more powerful. After activating it, the vampiric demon vine twisted and many weird eyes appeared on the small tree trunk. There were so many of them that it sent a chill down one's spine. Good, the first step is almost done. Refine the demon eyes of the vampiric demon vine. In the Sky Demon book, even a monster above Tao realm transformation 20 would need dozens of years of hard work to complete the first step. I completed it so quickly. It seems like the sun-moon dragon energy is the most mystical catalyst energy. Gu Chensha was delighted. When the 2 brothers saw the changes in the vampiric demon vine, their expressions changed. King, what do you need us to do? The 2 of you capture more monsters but don't alert them. Gu Chensha said, the vampiric demon vine has already mutated, but I need to refine it. It will consume a lot of Sciention earth energy and I will need to be fully focused. More importantly, the vampiric demon vine is still very weak and can be easily destroyed, so I have to take good care of it. Once I succeed and the vampiric demon vine turns into the sky demon tree, it will be able to cover hundreds of miles of land and kill any monsters. It will absorb their souls and flesh and turn them into nutrient. Can even bear all sorts of fruit trees. When that happens, the invincible sea of sin won't be a hidden danger but a blessed land. Gu Chensha was right. If the sky demon tree was truly refined, it could absorb souls and flesh and form all sorts of fruit. It could even form treasures, living beings, and puppets. The theory behind the sky demon tree was similar to the Bujo Palace. At the end, it could even become a giant treasure manufacturing factory. However, the difference between the Sky Demon Tree and the Bujo Palace was that the Sky Demon Tree absorbed flesh and souls, while the Bujo Palace could absorb star energy and all sorts of essence energy. In fact, whether it was the Sky Demon Tree or the Bujo Palace, all the methods of refining treasures in the world originated from the Hong Meng Tree. The Hong Meng Tree was a giant tree that grew in the depths of the endless void. It was also known as the World Tree. Rumor had it that this tree had infinite power. Many worlds were formed from the tree. Then, the world was like a fruit. After it ripened, it would leave the Hong Meng Tree and drift in the endless void, becoming an independent world. Many multidimensional worlds were formed from the Hong Meng Tree. Rumor had it that during the primordial era, there were powerful sages who had plucked treasures from the Hong Meng Tree. Those treasures were called connate cardinal treasures. The Hong Meng Tree was unimaginably huge. Gu Chensha knew that the heavenly talisman emperor had once plucked a fruit from the Hong Meng Tree to lure the legalists. However, in the end, the legalists didn't help Fa Wuxian wipe out the Temple of Mo. In the past, the 7 sages had worked together to pluck a fruit from the Hong Meng Tree and refined it into a few elixirs. The sages were seriously injured. Some of the characteristics of the heavenly demon tree's refinement were actually the refinement method that many sages of the primordial era had comprehended after observing the mysteries of the Hong Meng Tree. Gu Chensha hadn't seen the Hong Meng Tree before. With his abilities, he was far from being able to shatter the void and travel freely between dimensions. If I nurture this heavenly demon tree, it will become a pretty good Dharma treasure. Furthermore, with the nourishment of my sun and moon dragon aura, it will be even more exquisite than what the sages of the primordial era nurtured. I can resolve the demon disaster and obtain a pretty good Dharma treasure at the same time. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Gu Chensha pondered. Without the Dragon's Gate, he could rely on his connate stellar energy to survive. However, the refinement of the heavenly demon tree consumed a lot of stellar energy and essence spirit. Therefore, he wanted the Sheman brothers to capture more sheep-headed monsters for the tree to absorb. And he was the catalyst for the tree. Otherwise, with the digestive ability of the tree, it would be difficult for it to grow without hundreds of years. Luckily, after the tree evolved and absorbed flesh, blood, and souls, it could form pure fruits to nourish Gu Chensha's essence chi. This tree started out as a blood-sucking demon vine. According to the refinement method in the Book of Heavenly Demon, the first step was to evolve into a 7-colored demon vine. When it reached this stage, after absorbing flesh, blood, and souls, it could form a 7-colored essence fruit. Color was the meaning of the world of colors. 7 colors referred to the 7 colors of a person's body: soul, spirit, essence, power, energy, spirit, and intent. The 7-colored essence fruit could replenish these 7 colors, and its effects were comparable to many pills and medicines. Gu Chensha first had to turn the blood-sucking demon vine into the 7-colored demon vine to kill the monsters and produce the 7-colored essence fruit to replenish his earth energy. He didn't have the Dragon's Gate to replenish his energy, so it was quite tiring. The Sheman brothers' cultivation was also very strong. They had cultivated the Tao Realm 9 Transformations glass jade body and were the top figures under Marquis Calming Sea. They had slaughtered and fought, and their rich experience even surpassed Gu Chensha's. They silently shuttled through the demonic herbs, and in a short while, they each captured hundreds of goat-horned monsters. Among them, a few of the goat-horned monsters were surging with vital energy, and they were actually at the level of mortal realm martial masters. And these few goat-horned monsters' horns were a faint red color. Goat-horned monsters also had different grades. Ordinary monsters' horns were grayish-black, and the higher grades were faint red, and the higher grades were pure red, then purple, gold, and glass. Glass-colored goat-horned monsters were equivalent to people with the Tao Realm 9 Transformations glass jade body. If they appeared in the land of infinity, it would be a huge disaster for the commoners. Very good. When Gu Chensha saw the hundreds of goat-horned monsters being silently swept over by the Shiman brothers' Xiantian earth energy, he nodded and activated the blood-sucking demon vine again. The demon vine's tentacles pierced into the thick scales and started to suck blood and souls. As for Gu Chensha, he used his secret art and used it as the center to build a huge formation that was about an acre above the ground. In a short while, the hundreds of goat-horned monsters were sucked clean, and the residue was swallowed by the formation on the ground as nourishment. Your Highness, these goat-horned monsters are demons, and they have a lot of demonic energy in them. Will there be any side effects after absorbing them like this? Shiman Zhou asked. No, demonic energy is actually a type of essence energy, but it's extremely violent and chaotic. It's the yin energy and negative energy of heaven and earth, but it's also a rather good nourishment. I used the heavenly demon fiend refinement art to turn evil into good. Actually, that's the way of nature. For example, if stinky dung is watered in a paddy field, it can produce fragrant and sweet rice. But if the rice is eaten by humans, it will turn into dung. Gu Chensha said, "This is the conversion of yin and yang, the conversion of good and evil." After absorbing the hundreds of goat-horned monsters, the blood-sucking demon vine grew a little taller. It was as tall as a person, and its tentacles also grew. There were many dense spikes on the tentacles, and when they moved slightly, it gave one a feeling of immense strength. The tentacles are so sharp, and I suspect that they can pierce through several layers of armor. The scales of the goat-horned monsters are similar to armor, and they are tough to destroy. Shiman Yu said, I feel that even Dao Realm 2 transformations might not be able to beat this tree. Chapter 3:11 Kong. In the depths of the demon grass, there was another roar as a group of minotaurs appeared. The sheephead monsters in hell were of a lower grade, while the minotaurs were of a higher grade. The minotaurs were also really strong. The minotaurs and horsefaces of hell were still deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Legend had it that the barbaric bull was born from a hybrid between the minotaurs and a type of beast. There were hundreds of minotaurs in this group, and they seemed like an army. The minotaurs at the front had bright red horns, and their thick hide had actually formed a demonic totem. The totem was like a formation that could absorb demonic energy to increase its strength. An ox-headed demon monster that had cultivated a demonic pattern totem on its body was equivalent to an expert of the human Dao realm who was willing to abstain from eating. This was a demonic cultivation technique of hell. Gu Chensha actually knew it too. When he was at the Martial Path Grandmaster realm, he would activate his meridians and form a formation to absorb heaven and earth spiritual energy. After he succeeded, he would step into Dao realm. Celestial Dao cultivation was to use one's will to comprehend the barrier between heaven and earth. One would cause one's life magnetic field to shake and resonate with heaven and earth to open a thin tunnel to absorb spiritual energy into one's body. Both the Celestial Dao and Demon Dao had their own mysteries. Gu Chensha comprehended both and merged them into one to form the common people heaven-mending technique. Good fellow, it came to me on its own. Gu Chensha activated the blood-sucking demon vine. The vampiric vines had absorbed the essence and blood of hundreds of sheep-headed monsters, and their souls were condensed by Gu Chensha. It was already very mysterious. With Gu Chensha's cultivation base and the power of creation of the sun and moon dragon aura, even ordinary iron could be turned into a flying sword in an instant, not to mention the vampiric vines which originally had intelligence. The blood-sucking demon vine's attack strength was really abnormal and it could kill Dao realm expert. So, the vine's branches stretched out and stabbed into the bodies of dozens of minotaurs. It pulled them back, and when they fell to the ground, they were already dried-up corpses. Blood pool, condense. Gu Chunsha controlled the blood-sucking devil vines to kill the ox-headed devil beast. Then, he used his secret art again and refined the soil with his gang chi, turning it into a pool of blood that was a few acres wide and several meters deep. The essence blood absorbed by the vampiric vines was hard to digest, so it could be stored in the blood pool. Moreover, those souls could also float in the blood pool, fermenting, and finally provide nutrients for the vampiric demon vines. This was a blatant fiendish demon secret technique. Roar! The leader of the ox-headed devil beasts discovered some clues and led his team to charge over. But the Shaman brothers immediately took action. Their innate astral chi turned into gossamer threads and formed a huge net that trapped all the ox-headed devil beasts. This astral net technique is quite refined. The two of you should be close to mastering the 10 transformations, 1,000 tasks at one heart, right? Gu Chunsha asked. Your Highness has a keen eye. Shimanswa hurriedly replied, but these fiends have dense fiendish chi. When we circulate our innate astral chi, it is inevitable that our innate astral chi will be contaminated by the fiendish chi. When we retract our innate astral chi back into our body, the fiendish chi will enter our body, and it will be hard to resolve it. This is also the reason why fiends are hard to deal with. The fiendish chi will contaminate our innate astral chi. It's fine. I will immediately set up the heavenly cycle stellar immortal fiend refining talisman in the depths of your Dantian's chi sea. The fiendish chi will be unable to invade you. Gu Chunsha flicked his finger, and starlight coalesced into a talisman, which flew into the bodies of the two of them. The talisman floated up and down in their Dantian's sea of chi. After that, he sent his will into the talisman. The power of the stars was best at destroying evil and devils. Be it the Book of Heavenly Demons' ancient astrology art, Buzhou Palace's Tao of Buzhou, or Grand Preceptor Wenhong's myriad star-flying immortal art, they all had the effect of destroying devils and suppressing gods. What Gu Chunsha imparted to the Shaman brothers was a star-devil extermination mystic art. It was no small matter. The two hurriedly knelt down in joy. Gu Chunsha had them get up. He pointed again and activated the vines, absorbing all the minotaurs in the astral chi net. After absorbing so many fiends' essence blood and souls, the blood in the blood pool began to boil and condense into blood relics. The roots of the vampiric demon, Rattan, became more and more developed. The heavenly demon tree's weakness was that it was difficult to move. The ancient demons usually planted it in their cave abodes to protect the entire cave abode. Gu Chunsha's main purpose in refining this tree was to kill countless fiends and completely condense the tree to cover the boundless sea of sin. In addition, he hoped to condense the heavenly demon's sacred fruit from the tree. This fruit was the best thing that the heavenly demon tree could condense. Once it was condensed, it could expand one's Dantian's chi sea and sea of consciousness by swallowing it. Not only that, it could also greatly strengthen one's essence spirit. The benefits were unimaginable. Of course, this was in the future. It wasn't easy to evolve the vampiric demon Rattan into a heavenly demon tree. After killing this group of minotaurs, Gu Chunsha silently used a secret method to recover his astral chi and essence spirit. He had to maintain himself to his peak at all times. He couldn't use up a lot of astral chi just to condense the vampiric demon Rattan. The fiends here weren't just low-level existences like the sheep-headed monster and the minotaurs. Maybe some seals in the sea of sin would break and supreme heavenly demons would appear. At that time, if his astral chi couldn't support it, he would probably die without a burial. Just like that, Gu Chunsha and the Shaman brothers set up camp in the grassland on the edge of the cliff. Gu Chunsha continued to condense the vampiric demon Rattan, while the Shaman brothers cultivated and captured fiends to feed the vampiric demon Rattan. After a full 2 months, Gu Chunsha had been cultivating here. The vampiric demon Rattan had devoured at least tens of thousands of fiends' blood and souls. His cultivation base had also been tempered to an extremely pure level. The Shaman brothers were almost about to break through the 10 changes of Tao realm. They were extremely careful when capturing fiends so as not to disturb the devils in the depth. However, after capturing so many devils in the past 2 months, the fiends in the 3,000 miles grassland of the bottomless sea of sin didn't decrease but increased. It's really inconvenient without the Dragon Gate. Gu Chensha stopped and silently used his essence spirit again to restore his sea of consciousness and Dantian sea of qi. He restored his energy to the peak. If he had the Dragon Gate, he wouldn't be short of astral qi. Moreover, the Dragon Gate was good at swallowing everything. With the cooperation of the Buzhou Palace, they could refine magic weapons in an instant. If he had the Dragon Gate at this time, Gu Chensha only needed to throw the vampiric demon Rattan seed into the Buzhou Palace and then slaughter here. With his cultivation and the magic of the Dragon Gate, he could kill hundreds of thousands of fiends in a day and swallow them all. With the help of the 2 treasures, he could refine the vampiric demon Rattan into 7-color demon Rattan in a few days. However, Gu Chensha didn't rely on any magic weapons. He cultivated by himself and controlled it carefully. Instead, he tempered his cultivation to a subtle realm. Although he didn't improve his realm in the past 2 months, his control of his essence spirit and innate astral qi had completely changed. His understanding of heaven and earth was almost about to solve some mysteries. Strange. These days, Gu Chensha didn't get the divine light of the heavenly law like last time. Is it because Wu Dankong didn't offer a sacrifice? Or, only by offering a sacrifice to the divine light of the heavenly law can he share half of it with me? He was a little confused. However, Wu Dankong practiced a secret skill and prepared many creatures. It was possible that he was going to carry out a big sacrifice, so it was reasonable that he didn't use a small sacrifice. There are so many fiends here. I don't know if Wu Dankong will come here to hunt fiends. Gu Chensha also guessed that fiends were the best sacrifices. However, he didn't care so much. Rainbow Demon Vine evolve. After 2 months of accumulation, he finally refined the vampiric demon vine to perfection. As he made a hand seal, the vampiric demon vine suddenly released a rainbow light. Then, it turned into a rainbow treasure tree. This rainbow treasure tree was like colored glass. It was as tall as 3 people and deeply rooted in the ground. The moment it advanced, it completely absorbed the blood pool that was rooted in the ground. On the branches of this treasure tree, there were hundreds of rainbow fruits the size of a finger. They looked like elixirs. Great! Gu Chensha was overjoyed. I finally refined the vampiric demon vine into a rainbow demon vine. From now on, I don't have to worry about the lack of innate astral qi and essence spirit. This rainbow origin fruit can quickly replenish innate astral qi and essence spirit and nourish the body. With a wave of his hand, he plucked all the fruits and put them in his pocket. At the same time, he took out dozens of fruits and gave them to the Shaman brothers. How pitiful! I don't have Dragon Gate and Buzhou Palace anymore. I don't even have a spatial magic weapon. I still need a pocket to store these fruits. Gu Chensha wanted a spatial treasure. However, spatial treasures were so precious. One had to be at Tao Realm Transformation 30 and be able to open up a grotto heaven to craft one. Such a thing could be called a god artifact. Even in Jingxian Division, only Lu Baiwei had a bracelet. Originally, Gu Chensha had a few more which he merged into the common people's wish ball. Now, his body was really clean. This rainbow origin fruit was a top-grade recovery pill. It was only slightly weaker than the Xianwang Dragon Emperor's Xianwang pill. With Gu Chensha's current energy ocean and consciousness ocean, he just needed 1 Xianwang pill to fill them up. As for the rainbow origin fruit, he needed 3 to fill up Gu Chensha's consciousness and energy ocean. Now, he had close to 300 rainbow origin fruits, which could allow him to recover 100 times. Immediately, his confidence rose. Once the rainbow demon vine is refined, it will be much more convenient. I don't need to worry about exhausting my Xiantian earth energy and primordial spirit power. Gu Chensha had been waiting for this moment. It is time to speed up the killing. With large amounts of rainbow origin fruits to replenish his energy, Gu Chensha had the Dragon Gate's essence chi. He didn't need to worry about exhausting it. Then, he would be able to use strong spells. Xiantian earth energy, search heaven and earth. Tens of thousands of earth energy threads appeared on his body. They spread out in all directions and stretched out 100 miles. Instantly, thousands of monsters were swept back. These monsters included bad demons, cow heads, goat heads, horse heads, and even flaming monsters. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.